All right, welcome back. As you can see from the title, DMing the right way with probably the most right wing DM out there, me, Dungeon Master James, and or you can just call me James. I answer to both, actually. I do have a shirt though that says DM James, and I do have my Dungeon Master uh, cup that one of my players bought me a couple years ago. That's right. I like the players to understand exactly who is in charge and running shit. And the answer to that question, if there's any doubt, is me. Unless I'm a player, in which case I am a problem player. And how my storyteller for the vampire game deals with me, I'll never know. I'd have a hard time dealing with me because I think, and I'll just, chat a little bit before our game starts here in a couple hours. I sometimes I think because I do a lot of introspection and I am my harshest critic a lot of times that I wonder if I suffer from main character syndrome. You know, it's like, I don't know. And then I'll justify it, which if you got to justify stuff, then you're probably not right. But my justification is the other players never really seem to be interested in doing anything. They're very passive, some of them, not all of them. I mean, we've got some of them that are making moves, and I am the opposite. I am very much about, making shit happen. If there's something going on, I'm all about it. Let's get this shit going, right? Plus, I invent my own little goals and stuff because that's how I run D&D. So that's how I play Vampire the Masquerade, right? Um, like right now, I've negotiated for us to have our own domain in the city, even though we're not playing that game currently. So my character has been constantly out every night, patrolling the area, seeing who all's around, what's going on. I very recently wiped out a whole meth den, which, yes, it was weird because I did take the willpower check and I made it. But because of my character's convictions and stuff, I'm not 100% sure I should have even had to take a willpower check because one of my convictions is to always protect children and the innocent. And I can't think of anything more deadly to innocents and children than meth dealers, in the neighborhood trying to get everybody hooked on meth. But did I argue about? No, because um, one, nobody likes that. You know, if you're going to argue rules, wait until after the game. Plus, I'm effectively in charge of the rules that I play by because my storyteller, he decided rather than switch over to 5e, which now that I understand the blood pool system and the hunger dice and stuff, I am a huge fan of Vampire 5e. Maybe not the art. The art sucks. I like the old art, which was basically they took a picture of somebody from a LARP convention or something, and then like I don't know what you'd call it, but they basically line drew them and turned them into art for the game. And in some cases, they didn't even do that. They just, had a picture taken of somebody that used to be big into the LARP, and then kind of had an artist paint over the picture to give it the appearance that it was a painting when in fact it never was. I mean, say what you want, but I mean, it worked great in the earlier editions of Vampire. And hell, there's even some pictures in every edition of Vampire where you're literally, it's a photograph of people at a damn con somewhere, whether it's New York or wherever it was, you know? So I like that. Most of the art in 5e is kind of lame. And I don't know why they lamed out like that, but they did. You know, and I'm especially unhappy with their depiction of Nosferatu, which are just simply, hey, what's up, George? Which are simply just not that monstrous. So I got, yes, I am addicted to 3D printing. And even though I'm trying to get rid of miniatures, I print some. Some of you might remember all the bad guys from old school D&D. You could get the PVC figures of them. You know, Warduke, Kellic, etc. Hey, there's Bear. Hey, there's Hungar. Probably still hanging out with his girlfriend, wife, whatever she is now. I never know if he got married. Didn't tell me. What is up, Comrade Bear?
Just finished my bi-weekly face-to-face game.
Nice. How'd it go?
It was good. They haven't rolled any dice for a couple of sessions, so they got to roll some tonight. So I think that made them happy.
You know, sometimes the best sessions you'll play have no dice rolled.
Exactly.
It's just people working shit out. See, yeah, we're starting our game, but I can't say it's a new game because it's not a new game. It's like a game we played for 2 years, then put on hiatus, and now we're picking it up exactly where we left it off.
How long's it been on hiatus for?
About a year.
Nice.
But or a year and a half, however long we've been playing various other games in Vampire.
What game is it you're picking up?
OSC Advanced.
Oh, nice.
And I know the one lady I play with, she's super happy because she gets to play her gnome again. And she absolutely loves her gnome illusionist thief, which, I mean, go figure. And I'm going to be really campy and over the top because like I was saying, I got the STLs for all the original bad guys that you used to be able to buy in the PVC sized figures back in the 90s. So Kellic, the evil mage, and so, the evil sorceress woman, and Warduke, of course. But I've also got Venger. I've got the half orc assassin with the hood and the dagger. I'm going to introduce these guys into the campaign and integrate them in.
Nice.
As kind of the team of bad guys that the players are going to have to deal with on occasion. I mean, they already killed Warduke, but like I said, the one female is an evil cleric. So Warduke's back.
Raised dead and never hurt nobody.
Well, I will use it in Greyhawk. In my homebrew campaign of Kaliningrad, there is no any of that.
No.
That is dead. Been about 2 years, according to Hungar. Yeah, Hungar is playing an entirely new character because his old character got killed, and the only spell they had access to was one of the people in the group had reincarnation, and he came back as a centaur.
Oh, wow.
Which he was very rare, actually. But I think what really made him want to retire that character and just start a new one, even though it meant he started at a lower level, is the thief acrobat in the group was constantly wanting to ride him. And he was like, and the acrobats are like, no, think about it. We can close in quick. And he was finally like, no. This guy's getting retired. You know, maybe if they find a wish spell, they can wish he was back to whoever he was again. But so he's gone. And Hungar just said screw it and made a dwarf, as he does.
Hungar does.
Well, because he was playing a human fighter, but then he said, yeah, in the battle with Warduke, because Warduke had Black Razor at the time, Hungar's character charged him. They rolled initiative, and he attacked and missed, and Wardick rolled a nat 20 with Black Razor. It was just like, all right, you're dead. Because it counts as a vorpal weapon, I believe, or at least I was saying it did. So, he just cut your head off. Catch you later.
Nice.
Yeah. The first exchange of the battle, Hungar's character gets beheaded, which we've been having a pretty good in the comments discussion. I don't know who it is because I don't recognize the name, but they're talking about how they're pro fudging dice, and we've been going back and forth on that. I mean, at the end of the day, if that's what you want to do and your players are cool with it, obviously it's not my business. And I told him, I said, well, you're lying though. You're being dishonest. And his response is he tells his players he's going to do it. In which case, well, you're not being dishonest or lying. They know you're going to do it. Okay. If they're good with that. He made the argument, which I disagree with entirely. And again, I wish I even knew who it was, that what about players sitting at your table for months and months just wanting to have fun and then their characters die? And I'm like, yeah, it happens. That's what happens. It happens. And so, yeah, it's opinion. I can't disagree with him too strongly, especially if he's telling the players during their session 0, hey, I roll in secret or whatever, and if I don't like what comes up, I'll just do whatever. I mean, okay. All right.
That's why I like active defense. It is no longer my dice that kill the players. It is their own.
I have found in D&D more often than not, it's the players being stupid that kills the player.
No, but I mean, just the whole thing of, okay, you're going to roll defense instead of me rolling to hit you, right? So it's really simple.
Right.
It's just your armor class minus 10 is now a bonus, right?
Right.
Roll a d20 and add the bonus and try and, beat the number of the attack. Well, let's see. A goblin has an attack of plus 8. So 10 plus 8 is 18. He rolled an 18. Go ahead. You need to beat 18 on your d20 roll. Oh, yeah, rolled a 50. He gets a 15. Roll defend versus 15. It works so fast. It works so fast. It focuses all the dice rolling on the players, unless you have to roll damage, where you still get to roll some dice. And it's their dice that fuck them over, not you.
Hungar. I've lost too many characters to fall for that shit. Well, Hungar, when you got killed the last time, that is what Bear's talking about. Because you were playing a warrior. You were doing what you were supposed to do. Who knew I was going to roll the nat 20? I mean, that was literally a 5% chance. It happened. You died. Was nothing you did wrong. Whereas most of the time, it's because players do stupid shit. But in that case, Hungar didn't do anything stupid. What was he supposed to do? Warduke and his band of bandits were coming down a hall. So the fighters, of course, moved to the front, ready to fight. And then Black Razor takes somebody's head off. Oh, yesterday was my birthday.
Oh, happy belated.
24. And my wife bought me a couple more of the 24, I think, set of Berserk collectible mangas. So I'm getting there. I mean, that collection's getting well done. And she bought me this board game, which I swear weighs like 10 pounds. That would be like 3-point-something kilos for you commies out there. Called
10 pounds?
Mosaic. Yeah, like 10 imperial pounds. That'd be like 3 kilos, right?
3 kilos would be 6. Point would be 7. Be like 4.
A kilo was 3.36, or am I thinking a parsec?
2.2.
2.2. Okay, never mind then. So that's more like 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think parsecs are 3.36 light years or some shit. Anyway, it's called Mosaic, and it's basically Sid Meier's Civilization, the board game.
Okay.
Like you pick an ancient empire, and then you gather resources and increase your population and try to, get like ideas to give you technology And either your empire grows and becomes powerful, or it just vanishes into the dusts of time. But check this guy out. Hungar, you're not allowed to tell anybody. I can't wait to drop this guy on the table in front of
Ranger.
Yeah, come flying in, shooting fireballs at people, or whatever, lightning bolts. Hell yeah!
I like the idea of him firing fireballs, just like fucking plug out, plug out. Fuck.
I mean, how do you deal with it too? Because he's flying, so he just stays out of range and starts dropping AOE's all over the place. Parsec is a measure of time.
According to Han Solo.
Yeah, according to Han Solo. But you're half right, because you cannot have time without space, and you can't have space without time. That's like a basic rule of, I don't know, physics, I guess. Space-time is something that is always connected. Unless you're watching one of my favorite movies of all time, Event Horizon, in which case they create a gravity drive, supposedly, that can take the time away from the space, or the space away from the time. But in reality, it just sends you straight to hell, where you murder grape each other until everybody's dead, you know?
Oops.
And it was so bad that they had to cut it. Otherwise, it would.
They literally hired amputee actors for the sequence.
Oh my goodness!
So
yeah,
they could do really, really grotesque shit. And apparently
they were going full Cronenberg.
Oh, it's totally Cronenberg. But that's gone. Never going to get to see that footage ever.
And the studio was like, no freaking way. That'll be a rated X movie for 5
They hated it so much they stored the negatives in a Romanian salt mine. That's how much they hated the movie.
Isn't that, would you say, the equivalent of like a gulag for movies?
That's the equivalent of an acid bath for movies.
Yeah, it's like an oubliette.
Like it's the salt mine
with a movie to forget.
No, but the salt in the air degenerates the negative.
Yeah, they meant to destroy it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's all there is. They're like, this shit needs to go.
Yeah. How offensive do you have to be to get that result, right?
No, and they probably weren't that offensive. They were probably just grotesque because they were trying to represent the darkness.
We'll never know.
Because they don't, well, okay, they do in Latin say it's hell, but Little Bear, he just says, the darkness is coming. It's a place of pure evil and chaos. So there are some people, I watch a guy named Zaffy, and he's always doing like horror monsters and stuff and talking about what's the most powerful and shit. And he's saying that it's entirely possible that there could have been a crossover between Event Horizon and Hellraiser.
Oh, it felt like the gravity drive was supposed to be a puzzle box.
Right. That's what he was saying. And of course, I had never really given it much consideration, but then I started thinking about it, and I was like, wow. So the ship jumped directly into the labyrinth where the Cenobites live. And they immediately started ripping each other apart with chains and various other things. I mean, makes sense. But and no, I'm not trying to be a pedant, George. I know what you're getting at. Sorry. And I'm not trying to lecture anybody. I am not a school teacher. But I did read a lot of Isaac Asimov's, like back in the 80s, 90s, Asimov put out an actual magazine called Asimov. And it was just tons of short stories, but there would also be articles in it by Asimov. And the articles were like hard science. Because, Isaac Asimov had like 5 master's degrees in hard sciences. Something like that. He had a lot. And my mom would get it. And then when she was done reading it, I would read it. And there, I remember the article where he goes into the whole space time and Hungar saying space is not linear. Technically, he's not wrong because some people believe that the universe is shaped like a saddle, so it's actually a curve. But I don't know. I mean, it's like what some people believe. Avoid all rolls like Vegas, the house always wins. And that's a big problem, Frederick, with games like Rune Quest and Rollmaster. You have the crits. Everyone loves the crits, but the players are going to be on the receiving end of attack rolls way more than anything else, which means over time, they're going to catch those crits. I mean, it's just statistically going to happen. Over a long enough timeline, obviously, everyone does.
You say this like it's a bad thing.
Not necessarily. I mean, I love myself some Rollmaster. You know that. As a matter of fact, even though Iron Crown Enterprises Discord is full of rats and roaches, I did buy their brand new Rollmaster trilogy of books. The Character Law, Arms Law, Claw Law, or whatever it is. If for nothing else, for nostalgia. And I'm still trying to make up my mind which I like better, the new Rollmaster or Against the Dark Master by I think they're Italian.
Yeah, I don't know if it's, I don't know there's a new Rollmaster, but Against the Dark Master has so many good things going for it overall. It's a really good game.
Oh, I ran it smooth.
And I'm always going to say that like that. But the critical tables from Rollmaster are an outdated artifact and do not play well in a modern setting or in a modern context. They slow the game down to a crawl, and they can lead to disappointment cookies that make no sense. Case in point, the last game I ran it in, one of the players lined up, got the best possible critical he could get with his range shot, rolled the critical, and got the worst possible crit out of it. So, like, what a fucking letdown. You know what I mean? Even with the high numbers, he still got an absolute shit result. It was like, and it was at a crucial moment.
That's one of the reasons why I think Merps did crits better. Because instead of having all the different, like, A, B, whatever, right? It's like if you rolled really, really good, you got to add like plus 50 to your crit roll.
Yeah, they had that too. That's the thing. He even with the ad, he rolled so low,
like a 51?
Gave him the worst possible crit he could get on that table. Like literally, he's got the guy dead to rights. He fires off an arrow. He rolls like 150, 175 on his shot. It's insane. Woo, baby, go. And then hit him in the finger. You know what I mean? Like it was like, what? That pissed me off.
Luck is what it is, man.
Yeah, but it pissed me off because it really did ruin the scene where he was trying to save his friends.
Right.
And all it did was basically make him have to run or get killed. And
Luck
achieve nothing.
Be a lady tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Ralishad, the cruel mistress, my friend.
Yes. Or cruel mistress. Some people would say luck is just a bitch.
Fair enough.
Or fate. Fate is a bitch and she don't like you. I'm a member of the Flat Universe Society. Hey, who can argue? There's probably some scientists out there that got their own theories, but until we can see the universe in its entirety, for all we know, it looks like a Twizzler stick. I mean, and now I just saw a thing, I think it was on YouTube. I was watching some scientists, some physicists, saying they have discovered some kind of weird barrier at the edge of our solar system that would prevent us from ever leaving, even if we could. Like some kind of weird field of radiation or something that would instantly kill us. I lost my thumb last night in Shadow's game. It'll happen.
The only way the Pope of Greenwich Village reference works is if you completely downsell it after the freak out, right? Because that's what makes it like, oh my god, they took my Paulie, they took my fucking thumb. Hey, what the fuck happened here? You know, like the way he just breaks from his crazy freak out to comment, you know. So that's the only way that works.
Right. There's a couple of good scenes like that, like in Goodfellas, when the one dude that got shot in the legs is like, "Fuck you, Paulie," and Paulie kills him, and they're like, "What? You're digging the hole yourself." Take him out and bury him, poor guy.
With Spider, it's in the restaurant, the fucking
He was like the waiter for him while they
waiter,
played.
Spider. Fuck.
And everybody's like, the ball's on this guy, but then Paulie killed him, which is like, come on, Paulie. But that's why Paulie caught a bullet to the back of the dome, because you know the rest of the mob was like, that guy's too crazy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We function in the shadows by not drawing attention to ourselves. That guy cannot. Plus, he killed a man without permission, and we all know you don't do that unless you're, you know, in a different mob.
Yeah.
Which case you can. But then that's a mob war, and you know what they say about that. Time to hit the mattresses. Which is mob slang for staying in a safe house, sleeping on a mattress on the floor so that they don't catch you at your house and kill you. But, man. Yeah, we're going to have a good game tonight. I already know it. The players are super excited because most of them absolutely loved these characters when we ended it, and the NPCs they knew and everything like that. So, I mean, but it is going to be your simple, basic bitch D&D kind of thing. And which is, I mean, honestly, what I specialize in. Basic bitch fantasy is I'm all about it, because for me it's so easy. Because if I ever run out of an idea or imagination, I will just steal an idea or something from the plethora of books and movies I've watched, change it up just a little bit and throw it in there. You know what I mean?
If you're gonna run basic bitch D&D, you've got literally 50 fucking years of resources at your disposal to steal from.
Right. And I don't think anyone should ever be afraid. I mean, I've ran Riddick. I've ran the not Dunwich Village, the one with the deep ones, but in D&D.
Dunwich Horror.
Yeah, it was the one where they're in Innsmouth. Except in my campaign, it was called Red Hook.
Really?
It was.
Red Hook Queens?
Yeah. Well, I told you my pops is from Queens. I've been in Queens.
Yeah, so all the orcs show up and like, hey, what the fuck? What are you doing here? Hey, fuck, this is our place. You don't come here.
Hey, Swaggy9, how you doing? Is it a Green again on one of your 25 accounts? What are you doing over there, bro? It's like these Indians be wilding out. But anyway, maybe it's not him, but yeah, I called it Red Hook because it was a fishing village on the North Coast, and their whole deal was that once a year during a certain solstice, they would draw lots for a number of their young women, and then whoever got drawn, El Gato, I don't know what that means, but okay, would be tied to a post at the beach and left overnight. And
yeah, I did that in a D&D game one time. They got blown off course and they wound up in this island called Cobbett's Cove, and they saw the villagers dragging a girl out and tying her to a post, and being the heroes they were, they're like, well, we can't have any of that. So they went over and they, she's like, no, leave me. And they're like, no, you've obviously just, you've acclimatized to them. We're not letting this happen. And they cut her free. She's like, you doomed us all, as basically the sea monster shows up for its sacrifice, finds no sacrifice, and goes on a rampage through the town.
Yeah, that's pretty banging, actually. I like that. In my campaign, it was much more Lovecraftian because they were tying them out there so that the Sahagin could reproduce with them.
Shahugan. Yeah.
Yeah, however you say that. And
don't know
and in return, the deep ones, basically, let's call them what they are, were making sure that the fishing was good and everything like that. And then the children, when they hit a certain age, were cast into the sea to rejoin their paternal family, you know. Let's see here, the flat universe. It's on the back of 4 elephants standing on the back of a flying turtle. And the flying turtle, for some reason, absolutely hates the Red King and the monster from It. Because for some reason, the king threw the turtle in.
Threw up existence.
Yep. Because Stephen King has decided to, I mean, if you're going to rip Lovecraft off, just go all in. Don't even F around with it, right? So he's created his own mythos. We're like, Pennywise the Clown is actually a cosmic horror from outside of space. What's up, Mobius? How you doing, bro? And the Red King is kind of like, I mean, you would want to say like the devil, but not really, because he's more of, again, a cosmic horror from somewhere else. And Flag, who appears in all of this shit in one form or another, he's the Red King. He's also he who walks behind the rose. He was the bad guy in The Stand. I mean, you know, he's in everything. And yeah. And the whole thing with, of course, Pennywise the Clown, who has a brother that makes an appearance in the Dark Tower series of books. He feeds on fear. So that's his thing. And that's why they can defeat him by making fun of him. Because the opposite of fear is ridicule, I guess is what he was saying. But let's be honest, he just read a bunch of Lovecraft and did a few bumps and was like, I'm writing a book. And like 2 days later, he had one. You know?
I'm still convinced till my dying day he has a vault of manuscripts, and he's told his kids, when I die,
Release
these up amongst yourselves. You put your name on them as, you know, Tabitha King or whoever you are, and you release these and spend the rest of your days, you know, rolling in the green. Because that man writes like, fuck.
You know,
prolific isn't even a strong enough word for how much that guy writes.
Yeah, however you feel about his politics, which I think is just retarded as hell. The dude writes a lot. He's very prolific. And Pet Cemetery, when he originally wrote that, it sat in his desk drawer for years because the publishers and shit were like, that is too scary. You know, I mean, people will lose their mind if they actually read this thing. And of course, he dives into Lovecraftian / actually, you know, American Indian mythology with Pet Cemetery, which was supposedly caused by a Wendigo spirit. That's his new lore. It was a Wendigo spirit that haunted that land. And that's why the old Indian, like in the book or whatever, is like, you know, that land's cursed. Don't go there.
I only have one question for you, James.
Okay.
Do you know Sutter Kane?
Yes, but I don't want to. Last thing I heard is he was staying in this giant, ornate, almost Orthodox looking church.
That's in Ontario. That's a real church in Ontario.
Damn, it's creepy. I don't think churches should be black.
The black church, it's a real thing, and it is Orthodox.
Yeah, it looks Orthodox. In Hobbs End.
Hobbs End, yeah.
And you want to talk about some Cronenberg shit. Like the old lady and her husband and all the weird tentacle monsters and and what's so weird about it is at the end, and I don't know, you correct me because I've watched that movie like 8 times. He's watching the movie of the movie we watched.
Yes.
It's like, and apparently something is happening in America and everything is fucked. because the old ones have
They've
came back.
entered the mouth of madness.
Right. And apparently the old gods or whatever, they're back.
Yep.
Doing Cthulhu shit. I love
Yep.
that too. They're like Sutter King. Sutter Kane. He's like Stephen King, but way better or some shit. The one woman says. Then you find out she never existed.
Yep.
It's like, and the little boy riding his bike, and then you see him later, and it's
And
like,
you know who that little boy is, right?
Hayden
Christensen.
Get the F. Really?
Nope. Yep.
Wow. There's a trilogy.
Yeah, it's the Apocalypse trilogy. It's The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and In the Mouth of Madness.
And Prince of Darkness, which for some reason had a lot of the same actors as Big Trouble in Little China.
He made it right afterwards.
About the green gaseous stuff and the big
devil. The devil in a tube, basically.
Which was basically.
I love that fucking movie.
What do I know about Rasputin? I know that he claimed to be a healer. He was completely a heretic and disowned by the church. He had a massive wang, they say. He was of the philosophy that in order to defeat sin, you had to know it, which meant he was banging like all the prostitutes and shit. He never slept with the Tsar's wife. That was a rumor the commies made up because, because it's very common to make up bad rumors about your political enemies. I mean, everybody does. And it took him a long time to kill his ass. He basically survived a poisoning, a strangling, a shooting, whatever. They threw him in a frozen river. What else do I know about him is in one of my boxes here, I've got a miniature of him.
Right. You ever hear Billy Connolly's take on that whole thing of killing Rasputin?
Except my Rasputin is from Hellboy.
Do you ever hear Billy Connolly's bit on killing Rasputin? He said they give him poisoned biscuits. And he's like, well, these are quite good, but I'm a little parched. Do you have something I can wash them down with? They give him poisoned tea. They drink that. It's not working out. So then they have enough, and they shoot him. And then he didn't die, so they throw him in a frozen river. And he's like, I think you guys don't like me. I think there's something going on. What's your issue, guys?
And it was Russian nobles that wanted him dead, and they didn't tell the Tsar they were going to do it.
Well, of course, because the Tsar would have said no.
Because the Tsar would have said no.
Because he healed his son.
But he wasn't a great guy.
No.
However, I mean, whatever. Other than banging a bunch of prostitutes and getting drunk and being known for his hog leg, I really don't know of much he did that deserved being murdered. But, apparently he pissed some nobles off and they didn't like it. And, if you think Game of Thrones is rough, it's nothing compared to real life. The shit nobles have done throughout history makes Game of Thrones look tame.
And there's a way lot more incest in the real life stuff. That's the sick part of the nobles.
Well, yeah, I know for the longest time, it was like every noble in Europe was related to every other noble in Europe. And
yep. So you get the Habsburg chin.
Yeah, everybody always points out that poor Spanish king. I forget his name, but he was all effed up. But you can't even say just that, though, because, I mean, they say Tutankhamun, had he not been murdered by the general or whatever they think happened, he was so effed up with like birth defects and shit, he probably wouldn't have made 25. Like, he had a club foot and a cleft palate. Like, he had all the markers for severe inbreeding, like on one person.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, his dad and mom were literally brother and sister. So, I forget what tribe it is in Africa where the king, of course, it's a tribe. So we'll call him a king, but really he lives in a mud village and he's got an epi or something, right? He'll take a number of concubines, but he will eventually marry his daughter with one of the concubines, and she becomes the queen, and then their offspring will be the one that inherits the throne. So, yeah, that's some sick shit going on right there. In other news, my brother-in-law got me playing Vanheim, and today, for no good reason, I spent an hour getting murdered by a troll. I think it killed me about 50 times. It's like I would spawn, I'd run to get my body back because it had a lot of equipment on it I didn't want to lose. Troll would jump out from behind a tree. How it hides behind a tree when it's like 40 feet tall, I don't know. But it'd jump out from behind the tree and one-shot me with the tree it's carrying, because the log it's carrying it, because it's Scandinavian. So it's not like a little green regenerating troll. It's like a fucking mountain, you know. And I did eventually kill it because I dug a giant trench and it chased me, and I ran over the trench on a little, like, I made a bridge out of just like logs, and it couldn't run over the log, so it fell into the trench, and then I just stood up there and shot it to death, you know, because that's why we're the apex predator of this planet. I might have had to die 50 times, but then I realized, dig a pit, drag them into it, let them fall in a pit, and then throw rocks on their head until they're dead, then climb down and butcher them, which is exactly what I did. So I've got a bunch of troll hide now, which I could eventually, if I get some more, make good armor out of. Because right now I'm running around just basically buck naked. Well, I've got my underwear, but I had a nice set of leather armor, but I died so much that it got destroyed. I remember in Dragon Magazine, there was an article about giving all of a player's equipment hit points and then keeping track of, like, if they took so many hits on their plate mail, the armor would become damaged and its armor class would go down, and then they would suffer penalties for wearing armor that was like hanging off of them and all, you know, if like, you know, their shield could get broke and all kinds of shit like that. But I was like, that's a bit more than
I always like the thunder rule. I always like that rule. If you had a shield and you got a hit against you, you're like, nah, I'm not taking that fucking hit. My shield sunders. You know, like, all right, your shield's gone. The hits have hurt. You ain't got no more shield, motherfucker.
Is that against the Dark Master or what?
No, it's from D&D. It was, I think, in Dragon Magazine it showed up.
I know.
Like yeah.
You know what? Conan 2.20 has a rule where if you take a hit, you can choose to what location you got hit, have that piece of your armor destroyed to avoid the hit. Because, you know, Conan uses that hit location chart.
Yeah.
And shields are treated as offensive weapons more than passive. So you can sacrifice
the shield. I'll be right back, sir.
All right, no problem. Don't you guys just like bears, like grinny bear smoking his cigar? Looks cool. He looks like he's got bad intent, though. Like, you don't ever want the DM to smile at you that way, because like something bad's getting ready to happen, you know. Like, you're getting ready to not like whatever's going on, because it's going to be like that. And you know, to quote one of my homies, sometimes it just do be like that. Actually, I think that was Cardi B, but whatever, you know. Whatever. To quote my brother, whatever, I do what I want because I'm a bad girl. Yeah, that's a brother thing. That's the kind of stuff he would say. But yeah, it'll be pretty exciting going back to Greyhawk. Back to the grind, back to the, you know, the place where it all started, really. Not really, but kind of. To quote the pirate, yes, but no. What else do I know about Rasputin? I keep seeing George's thing. I know that he supposedly cured the Tsar's son, who had hemophilia, because apparently it was very common for members of noble families to be hemophiliacs. And again, as Bear pointed out, probably from all the inbreeding and everything. You know, I think hemophilia is, generally speaking, like your grandparents were too close kind of a disease. You don't really see it anymore. And it's not just because HIV wiped out all the hemophiliacs, even though it did a number on that whole group of people. Because, I mean, you cut yourself with a steak knife, you run to the doctor to get, patched up, and they didn't used to check blood back then. They give you some blood to keep you from dying, and the blood has HIV in it, and then nobody knows what your problem is, and you die of a flu. For those of you who are young, yeah, that's a thing that really happened. For real. I'm not even lying to you. That's a thing that really happened. And it took them forever to figure out what in the hell was going on because, I guess when it was just homosexuals dying, they didn't care. I don't know. I don't want to put motivations on people, but, But then when all the hemophiliacs started dropping dead, they're like, wait a minute. Mostly males, yes. Yeah, that I do know, Captain. You are 100% right about a lot of Europe's later nobility. Like by the time of World War I and all that sort of stuff, they were all directly related to Victoria. Because how many kids did she have? Like 11 with her first cousin? Because Albert was her first cousin. Yeah, we were talking about that, Captain, how inbred nobility has been since Egypt. But even before that, I'm pretty sure that name the culture, and you can damn well guarantee that some noble in that culture was marrying somebody way too genetically close to them. And you can take that back to the frickin' Stone Age if you want. We can go all the way back past the Bronze Age. Whether we're talking about the fact that Lot had children with his own daughters or whatever it is, even if you want to get into like mythology, it's like, well, Zeus, Odin, almost all of the ancient pagan gods, as they say, I think they weren't gods. I think they were heroes whose stories were told so much that they kind of become bigger than that. They all married their sister, like every damn one of them. Hera and Zeus were brother and sister, right? Yeah, they were. And Odin and who was his wife? Freya or something? I don't remember, but they were brother and sister. The Aztecs all came from the same mom, basically. So there's that. I mean, yeah. Yeah. Yep. But my point, Captain, was that when HIV, before anyone knew what HIV was and no one tested blood or anything, it pretty much exterminated all the hemophiliacs in the United States.
Well, it wasn't just that. It was when HIV became AIDS, the treatment they used for it was AZT, which was a cancer drug that was so toxic it was deemed unusable for cancer patients, and they were giving it full strength to the people who had developed AIDS. So that's why you would hear about someone getting AIDS and then being dead in a year. It wasn't because the disease was killing them. It was because the treatment was killing them. And then once they figured out how to back off on the treatment and like dilute the AZT and stuff like that, suddenly people were able to live longer. And that's, the trial and error.
Well, now, I mean, you could catch HIV, and as long as you get your meds, I mean, you could basically live until you're 90.
Yeah, and be non-transmissible. That's the other thing.
Right.
One of the things that the med does is it reduces your infective cells or whatever the fuck they're called.
Yeah. So you're saying, though, a combination of them not knowing what HIV was and using bad medication wiped out.
Using too strong a medication that basically attacked the body as well as the disease. You know what I mean?
Hemophiliacs used to be a thing. There used to be tons of them, or well, not tons, but they were a thing. People knew about them.
When I
Now
was a
I
kid,
don't think I've ever seen one.
when I was a kid, hemophiliacs were more common than peanut allergies. That's for sure.
Intercousin, dude, that's the most common type of marriage in Pakistan right now. Pakistan leads the world in being inbred because they marry their cousins and shit. And they do it because it's a way of keeping the money and the land and the goats and whatever in the same family. So, and if you're a Paki, I'm not making fun of you because every culture did it. But it exists to the modern day in Pakistan and Afghanistan because nobody's, for some reason, they're still living that old school life. But yeah, a lot of it was we need to marry our son off to somebody who, if something happens, the land, money, gold mines, whatever, um, uh, stays in this family. Christianity, well, it got to Pakistan, but unfortunately, when Islam got to Pakistan, it wiped them all out. And that was the end of that because, for a long time, everything over to the Punjab region was part of the Bactrian Greek, kind of Hellenistic culture, which did accept Christianity. Georgia and Armenia are two of the first countries to accept that religion. But then, of course, they were both later conquered by, I think the Mongols eventually embraced Islam. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's a weird thing. And maybe it does have something to do with their faith, but I always thought it had more to do with resources. Kind of like how the church in Europe decided priests can't get married. And the main reason has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with the fact that if a priest gets married and he's a member of the church and then he dies and the church has all this property, then what portion of that property does his widow get?
Plus, they had to pay for all those widows, wives, and kids because they were good Christians who went forth, were fruitful, and multiplied these priests.
Right. So it just become an issue. So the Bishop of Rome decided, yeah, we're just going to go with the celibacy thing.
How about we don't? Yeah, okay. We're going to just, how about no?
It's just easier, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the other four bishops were like, nah, man, get married. Do your thing. We don't own any property really anyway. So knock yourself out. Also, you need a job because we're not paying you for being a priest. So it's like, all right, a little bit different take on the situation, but whatever.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, you want to talk about one of the greatest we always end up on history. One of the greatest historical massacres of all time was when Tamerlane invaded northern India. They estimate he killed like 6 million, 7 million people. He especially hated this city that was decorated with like all of the pictures from the Kama Sutra. And of course, to him, that was just like, oh my God. So yeah, he ran amok, man. They say he would set his throne up on mountains of skulls and shit. This guy, Tamerlane, what was his other name? Temujin. And the anglicized version is Tamerlane. And then that one guy from Turkmenistan or whatever that blew up New York or whatever, Boston, his name was Tamerlane. So his mom had named him after this vicious warlord that had massacred millions of people, some of which personally. Another big boo-boo was when the city of Baghdad told the Mongols to go F themselves. Over 1 million casualties later, they did not realize the error of their ways because they were all dead. Because the Mongolians are like, all right, you want to play games? You want to play games? We can play games. Timur. Yeah, that guy was a maniac. Yeah. he was a member of one of the Turk tribes that lives a bit north and west of China. And when they converted and whatever, he just ran amok. But yeah, man. Yeah, it goes all the way back. I mean, that's one thing at least as dungeon masters we don't have to do in our D&D games. Have people marrying their first cousins and shit. I mean, we can avoid that and just go ahead and say so and so, like the Princess Bride, the princess or the prince chooses a common wife, just because love, magic, whatever. And therefore their kids aren't going to be little web-toed mutants. Good times, right? I mean, but yeah. I mean, I hate on R.R. Martin right alongside the best of them and think he's a weird, perverted, strange duck, right? But history is worse than anything he could ever come up with. I mean, the shit that went down in history. Those policies centralized power. Yep, that was the whole point. Yep, that was the point. And also, if you're a noble and you had multiple sons, the first son, should he survive, that was going to be your heir, and the second son got sent to the church to be a priest.
First son was the inheritor. Second son went to the military. Third son went to the church because he was useless.
Well, thanks for the. I know Brian Baruma or Brian McBaruma, also Brian Canetti. He was originally sent to the monastery because he was pretty far down the line amongst his brothers. But then the oldest brother just got to where he didn't want to fight the Vikings. So then Canetti, Brian Baru, stepped in. And because he had been so well educated, he had read about Alexander and all this crazy shit in the monastery. It turned out he was a brilliant genius general because he had studied these ancient generals and their tactics, whereas his older brother never had because, he was never in a monastery being trained to read and write the classics. The real power of the shape-shifting reptilians. Somebody's been listening to what's his name? Ike?
David Ike, yeah.
David Ike. I love that guy. He's so crazy. I'm glad he exists. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the whole thing with the Papal States was a real mixed bag, Captain. A real mixed bag. I won't say every pope was bad because some popes actually did try to do the right thing. But there were some of them, like the Borgias, etc., that were absolutely evil as shit, and into every kind of weird depravity. I mean, but power and all that, right? I was riffing from Conan. That isn't Conan, actually. You're right. The reptile people from Lemuria that survived when Atlantis sank, and
lizard people.
They worship Set, and they can shapeshift, and their whole goal is to destroy humanity. But David Icke wrote a thing about it, and you know who else did? H.P. Lovecraft. He's got a whole story about when Cthulhu sank under the ocean, blah, blah, blah. The reptilians were created, and their goal was to exterminate all of the mammals, but they haven't managed to do it yet. However, they have magic mixed with science because in Lovecraft, I mean, it's hard to tell the difference between the two things, and it allows them to appear human. So they infiltrate governments. There's a whole story where a guy was digging, I think in France, and they uncovered this weird medallion, and it turns out when you wear the medallion, you can see through the serpent people's illusion. But then you have to pretend like you don't see them, because if they know you see them, right, you end up poisoned, dead, something. And their whole deal is to just try to guide societies to F them up. So, I mean, if you want to get crazy, you could say World War I, II, all the wars are caused by reptilians, trying to get as many humans killed as possible because that's their goal. At least according to R.E. Howard and Lovecraft and David Icke. Hey, I never put that together until Bubba just said that. I wonder if David Icke was an R.E. Howard Lovecraft fan.
No
And
idea.
that's where he got the whole idea of reptilians ruling the earth because, I know in the kind of documentary, kind of not documentary about Hellier, Kentucky, they talk about the reptilians living deep underground in caves and shit near Hellier, Kentucky, and how the government has sent like special forces teams and shit like that down there on numerous occasions to try and root them out. But I mean, of course, it's all top secret, so no one knows. Except every now and then someone leaks us, something. It's probably 100% bullshit, but it's interesting. And of course, it had to happen in Kentucky because everything fucking weird does.
Yeah, think.
Like, that's why I said if I ever talk my players into playing a mini campaign, Call of Cthulhu, their characters can be from wherever they want to be from, but the adventure will be in Southeast Kentucky. And it will involve a bunch of inbred hillbillies worshiping Shub-Niggurath. And the ancient Shub-Niggurath is a huge fan of inbreeding and all the worst shit. So, and also cannibalism. So, the players could end up in the chili pot if they're not careful, or made into some. I could even steal some ideas from an old movie called Hotel Hell, where they were turning humans into ham. And it was like, everybody was saying how it was like some of the most delicious ham they'd ever ate. It was people. They would take these humans and basically lobotomize them and then feed them until they got really big and fat and then turn them into pork products. And that happened somewhere in the South.
Of course it did.
Yeah. The whole idea is you're traveling, your car for some reason's acting up. You see the sign, Hotel Hello, but the O is burned out. So then, you get a room, and while you're in the room, when you go to sleep, they sneak in, drag you out, do the thing, and then turn you into pork products, sausage, and bacon.
Dragging them out of the hotels. That's what I hear they're doing. Turn them into sausage. It's good sausage, I hear. That long pork.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. When I got my game from my wife, I was like, I started doing all that, but talking about my wife, but like Trump, I was like, she's a good wife, maybe the best ever. She bought me a game.
Might be
I
the
hear
best.
from everybody, it's a wonderful game. That's what everybody says, and she was just laughing her ass off because I was, Of course, she laughs at my pain too. The other night, I thought it'd be good to eat a bunch of hot chicken wings. And then I talked to my metformin, and metformin has a weird reaction with food, which is called the screaming meanies, diarrhea. And this diarrhea, so I'm in the bathroom complaining, and she's laughing, and I start singing Ring of Fire and shit like that. She's just cracking up, and I'm like, this is why you keep me around. Because I'm so amusing to you, because
Irie Mudbutt. That's why she keeps you around.
Flaming. I'm telling you, it was delicious though, and I would do it again.
See, I've never had the metformin reaction for spicy food. I've never had, but my spicy foods usually just chicken wings, so there's very little, there's no carb in them, so you're fine.
See, with me, it's not chicken wings, it's everything. As soon as I eat, if I'm taking my metformin regularly, it's like within 10 minutes, run into the commode.
I never had
Boom.
that.
But on the other hand, I lose a bunch of weight because, it's like I eat something constantly in there. So, um, those commercials where they're like, at any given time, you have 30 pounds of poop. Not me. Because as soon as I eat, that stuff is gone onto other places. But unfortunately, and I know this is kind of a disgusting conversation, unfortunately, I pay for it sometimes because I like spicy food. Have I ever involved my wife with my hobbies? She plays in my D&D game. She's also one of my frenemies in the vampire game. We love board games. Like one of our favorite board games actually is Splendor, and we also love Carcassonne, which is basically the French game where you just put tiles down and try and build rivers and shit, or cities or whatever you're doing. We both, more her than me, believe it or not, love Mansions of Madness 2nd edition. For me, I sometimes can get ADHD pretty bad. Not that I'm self-diagnosing, but sometimes I just want to do stuff. And some of the missions in Mansions of Madness take, I shit you not, 5 to 6 hours. And for me, I'm like, oh God, don't make it more than an hour and a half or 2 hours or else, The only thing I can do for 5 hours is role play. But board games, not quite so much. However, here's how much I love my wife and Mansions of Madness. I've 3D print alternate sculpts for all of the investigators and a lot of the monsters. And I've painted up all of the monsters from the board game for the most part. And, and they make fun of me and say racist stuff because I always play the black guy. That's the blues player. And they're like, this is 1920s. We're on a train. Shouldn't you be in the back? And I'm always like, how can you say that? I mean, don't get me wrong. I love a racist joke as much as the next guy. But, I mean, I'm on your team, asshole. And, of course, one time we were in Innsmouth and the cops showed up and immediately it was randomized, went after me. And I'm just like, ain't this just a bitch? The one black guy in the group. And automatically I'm the guy getting stuck in the handcuffs. I'm like, damn it. And it don't get any better for the next 40 years, guys. So just get used to it. So, and mainly, I don't know why I like, his name is Jim Culver or something like that. He has a golden bugle that when he plays it, if you listen to his blues music, it makes you more sane. Like you lose insanity points or whatever, cards. He can see ghosts. So he used to spend a lot of his time in the graveyards in New Orleans playing his music to the ghosts. And he's just a decent character. He's not a specialist at anything, but he has no weaknesses either. You know what I mean? His stats are all pretty good, but like if you play, there's one guy who's a member of the Marsh family. His like strength is really good, but his the ability to use like charisma basically is really low. You know what I mean? So there's like so many kinds of characters you can play, and you can choose someone that specializes in a particular thing or a more generalized. I like the generalized guys. I like to think I have a chance at everything rather than saying, oh, I'll whip your ass and fight. But if it comes to reading a book, yeah, I'm going to fail that. What's up, RPG Dad? How you doing, homie? But anyway, I hope I answered your question, Conway. Yes, my wife is a gamer. My mom has role played D&D with us before she moved to Kentucky. My daughter used to play before she got older and married and had kids and whatever. My whole in-laws are gamers, but not RPGs, but like board games, card games, dice games. One of their favorite is Sequins, which is basically like Connect Four, but with cards and chips. It's a good game. So I lucked out. Now, my first two wives, as Bear might have known by now, I am the eternal optimist. I do not quit. I will keep trying. What do they say about insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again. Except I lucked out. We got married. We've been together for over 20 years. Met her at a D&D game. That's how you do it. Now, I'm not as hardcore as like Professor Dungeon Master, who's like, I dumped a chick in college because she didn't play D&D. It's like, yeah, I'm not that hardcore, but if you are a gamer and gaming is a huge part of your life, do not get a partner that does not like gaming. It will only end in tears. That I can guarantee you. You know? I know because I've been there. I'm not just talking shit to hear myself talk. I've been there. Like my second wife, the Puerto Rican lady, I think she was ashamed that I was a gamer because of, in their culture, it's not very macho. And she was definitely hardcore into that, Miami Hispanic culture, So the fact that her husband played pretend games was a big issue for her, She just didn't respect it. But yeah, as a matter of fact, Conway, and by the way, Conway, I don't know if I've seen you before, but welcome if I haven't. Today, my wife bought me a new board game called starts with an M. Damn, it's basically Sid Meier's Civilization, but a board game, a big board game. It's got a massive map. It's got all the ancient empires on it, Rome and Greece and whatever, and you collect resources and buy technologies. And so, Sid Meier's. Right. And who didn't love the old Sid Meier's Civilization games? I mean, I still like them. But, and she is super excited to play the game with me because, again, we call her, and this is, of course, a reference to a rock band, but also my wife. We call her the Queen of the Stone Age because we own this game called Stone Age, and she pretty much always whips her ass at it. So yeah, that's her nickname, the Queen of the Stone Age. It's pretty good. And yes, being married to a gamer wife is so awesome. Now, she's not a huge fan of miniatures games overall, except, Mansions of Madness uses minis. And we use minis at D&D, but the very fact that she has hobbies that include gaming means she's a lot more understanding about me and my obsession with plastic crap. Even if she didn't like it, at least she gets it. You know what I mean? She's like, yeah, he likes to play with his little army men. So, not too many wives would allow their husband to hand build a 4x4 trench table for a war game. Not too many wives would do that. They'd be like, are you insane? My wife was like, yeah, just don't make a mess, which I did make a huge mess. And I'm still cleaning it up because I don't know what it is about pink foam, but the second you start cutting pink foam, you will start finding bits of it in your bed, in the bathroom, basically everywhere in your entire house, you will find little chips of pink foam. That stuff gets everywhere. So, yeah. So we're going to be a player short tonight because my maybe soon-to-be brother-in-law sent me a message saying he's taking my sister-in-law on a mini vacation out into the Gulf of America. I don't know what. That's what he said. And I was like, well, okay, what are you doing out there? I don't know. I mean, if you're close enough to us in Florida and you ever want to drop by, I mean, we're out here. So he's a good guy. He still hasn't even, he's like the one I talk about that's constantly asking everyone else what he should play? Because he wants to play whatever will be most useful for the group, and he don't understand that when you got like 8 players, you're going to have pretty much everything. Oh, sorry to hear that, Conway. Here in the U.S., you can go to one of our big box stores like Lowe's, and you can buy that shit in 4x8 sheets for like relatively cheap. You know, and you can get it in 1 inch, or if you want to spend more money, 2 inch. But I found it's cheaper to just buy 2 1-inch sheets and just, work with it like that. So yeah, you got pink foam, and then if you want to spend the big money, you got blue foam. But it's the same thing. It's just the blue foam's even more dense. But so RPG Dad, you said hello. What are you doing, man? I said hello back. Now I want to know what you up to. What's your Sunday going to look like?
Hello, Rich James. What's going on?
Yeah, what's going on, man? 54 today. Or yesterday. Yesterday, not today. But what happened yesterday, and I think I might have streamed it, is my wife made me a massive porterhouse and a sweet potato. And then we sat down together and ate dinner and watched TV. So while that may not sound exciting to a lot of players, to me, that is like the best. A big chunk of medium rare beef and something on TV with my wife. Yeah, that's pretty good. So no regrets. Listening and rearranging my room and desk setup. Oh my God. Don't remind me. Freaking Bruce showed off he was painting and people were like, your desk is messy. I showed my desk off. Bruce looks like the master of organization compared to me. Like when I'm working on mentors and shit, I'm literally working on like a 5 square inch area because my desk looked like it's been invaded by a hobby shop or something, Like over there, I've got Call of Cthulhu shit and random stuff and Trench Crusade stuff and D&D stuff and miniatures from the Berserk story. Like I am completely surrounded. I've got this giant, you can't see it, it's off camera, but this giant freaking 2.5-foot spaceship next to me. I've got a whole fleet of sailing ships back there in the corner. You can just barely make them out. I've got 4 schooners, a frigate, a brig, a flute, and a Zebek. It's a Lantine sailed ship. And that's all for Blood and Plunder, which I'm still waiting for my brother to come down, but he's got to wait till his doctor gives him permission. When he comes down, we're going to play Blood and Thunder. We're going to play Baltec because we always play Baltec when he visits. Because I have to establish dominance once again. And then after that, we're going to play Trench Crusade. And then yeah, that might be it. But it's not going to happen until the doctor says he's okay to drive 15 hours. So, yeah. So, oh shit, Bear. You know what was another good movie, but I don't know who directed it, but it could fit right in with the Apocalypse series, kind of. From Beyond.
Yeah.
It's definitely Lovecraft because I mean,
Very
I the
Lovecraft.
book they based that on,
It's completely Lovecraft.
and it's got the one dude that's in like every one of the old Lovecraft movies. I forget his name, but he is in the Reanimator, Return of the Reanimator, Bride of the Reanimator.
Jeffrey Combs.
He was also in, believe it or not, Frighteners.
Yes, he was
He
the
played the
crazy
crazy
FBI guy,
FBI.
and he was in Star Trek Deep Space Nine in multiple roles, including Weyoun. Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah, but he's best known for reanimating heads and stuff. I think.
It depends. I think he's best known for Weyoun now because of the popularity of Deep Space Nine compared to
Yeah,
Reanimator.
9 did start out as not popular, and then over time, it really came into its own. People realized that, hey, wait a minute. You can have a great Star Trek series where you don't actually really ever go anywhere, but it's just all about character interactions on a starbase at the edge of a war-torn,
Wait, so it's
sector.
basically a story about a western town, and the new sheriff has come to town, and
You
okay,
could almost argue it's Casablanca in space.
that's a stretch.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. It's
I get what you're saying, but it's a stretch.
people from everywhere there, and because I mean, you even had the Cardassians there, and they completely hated the Bajorans.
Yeah.
And you had the Ferengi, which everybody kind of hates, but at the same time, they sell to anybody. And I even like the fact that Cisco's son, one of his best friends, was that little Ferengi, who I think his dad or uncle or whatever owned the bar.
His uncle. So his father was Rom, who was the brother of Quark. His name's Nog, and Nog joined Starfleet eventually, and then loses his leg. Sadly, that actor died. He passed away.
But it was still a good kind of wholesome thing, you know.
It's a great show.
Yeah, you know.
I always like going back to that bit where Quark's explaining to the Vulcan how peace is at an all-time low price. Everybody's got guns, everybody's ready to fight, but nobody has peace, and that's the one thing you can sell right now. It's a really good scene.
Well, the Ferengi are kind of awesome as just an idea, like their rules of
Acquisition
and stuff like that was pretty good. You know, like that's interesting. You've got this little group of, at least to our eyes, hideous looking little guys, but they've got all these weird rules on how they do shit. Plus, their spaceships look kind of cool. I kind of like the whole, like, you know, rounded. And anyway, yeah, Deep Space Nine, you kind of had everyone showing. You're right. Old West might be a better thing, but I will admit to one thing, and that is that I absolutely adore the original movie Casablanca. So you will forgive me if sometimes I see shadows of it and various things.
It's a great movie.
One of the best, if not the best.
Casablanca. It's a good movie. I hear it's one of the best.
I bet you Trump probably likes Casablanca. I mean, who wouldn't? Save me, Rick. Hide me. I stick my neck out for no one. You know what I mean? It's like, damn. When the French guy's talking to him, he's like, what brought you here anyway? The romantic in me likes to think you killed a man. Did you abscond with the church funds? Hey, what's up, Doc? How you doing, bro?
Yeah, you should throw the link up again. It's
Before my game starts in an hour or so. I did find my Blu-ray copies of Last Starfighter. Oh my God, that one was so good too. I love the partner because he's so literal. It's like when he meets the family and they're like, how do you do? And he's like, I do well.
How do you do?
Yeah, the turtle guy or whatever, the pangolin guy. I don't even know what the hell he was. How you doing, Doc?
Hey, what's up, gents? What's going on? What's shaking? How's it hanging? What it is?
How it do? Well, we're talking mostly about D&D because tonight is we're doing D&D. Janet, how you doing, Janet? I actually watched some role-playing games the other day. Bruce was running.
I just jumped into your talking Casablanca. Know what the movie everyone tells me is like the greatest movie in the world that I just don't care for at all? Citizen Kane. Thought it was tedious. I thought it was boring.
My issue with Citizen
I have
Kane
watched
is simply
Citizen
this.
Kane once.
My problem with Citizen Kane is this. Watch the movie. No one is in the room when he says Rosebud.
So therefore,
This is your
no,
greatest movie of all time, people. The entire plot is built on an event that never happened according to the world around him.
How you doing, Left? What's up with you today?
Oh, I just got done with a game.
Me too.
Good.
Oh, it went bad for me. Well, sort of. I mean, I'm not mad about it. It just, my character did not have a good time. My character got punched in the face so hard, I went down and almost died.
That's a good punch.
Yeah.
You went down and almost died. So the question is, did you make sure to like cup the balls and what kind of going down are we talking about?
I did my best impression of Glass
Gnome,
Joe.
so it's not like it would be that hard for him since gnomes live crotch level their whole life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you imagine being a gnome and walking into a village full of peasants that haven't bathed in like,
Oh, man.
and everywhere you walk, you're like eye level with every crotch. It's just like, oh my God. It would suck to be a gnome. Darkness Rising was pretty good, if that's the one I remember, where they're like doing the adventure again because everyone keeps dying. I like the original Gamers better though, because I'm an old crusty bastard. But if we're talking about the one where, you know, they actually had the paladin and the female player and all that, it was good.
Look, Jake.
Gamers Darkness Rising is a better film. Like, it's just better in almost all levels. But the sorceress, the female part of the sorceress acting, so it was the guy, and sometimes it was my friend Jen, she modeled for Lady America for the comic book. So we got this great poster of her.
So you're saying you know that person?
Yeah. She has a show on YouTube now called I Talk to Ghosts, where she's become a medium, you know. But, you know, whatever.
Well, I'm not going to judge her for that, but she was basically the best thing about the show.
She's a nice lady. She's a really, really nice lady.
Wait, is this like some kind of documentary or is it like a show?
No, it's a bunch of dorks sitting around a table playing 3rd edition D&D. Except one of the biggest dorks at the table decides to play a female character that he models after like one of his college professors or something. And she's like a smoking hot blonde babe. Yeah. So it goes back and forth where the skinny little nerd dude will be dressed in female clothes. And then like in the next scene, he'll remember and then it'll be her. And of course,
what did they have? Like have the people gaming and then they like drop
they're at the table and then they cut to their thing.
Okay.
And there's this really great bit where the guy's girlfriend has joined the game and she's all into the role playing. So she's like talking to the peasant, and then they cut to the other character standing beside her, and like the guy's going, "Wow, those mountains look quest worthy."
Because they're basically a group of murder hobos.
Yeah.
And the alpha Chad of the group, his ex-girlfriend joins the group. And he makes a character for her, and she's like, "No, I made my own character."
She has a broadsword.
Yeah, they throw a fit about that because she picked this weird combination of feats where it made her crit range with a spear like 12 or higher, and
it's really fun.
Got a bonus attack every time she critted with a spear.
Yeah.
And her highest attribute was intelligence, not strength. And they're like, "What are you doing?" But then she gets into a fight with a horde of goblins, and she's just like, "Crit, attack again, crit, attack again, crit." You know, and they're like, "Oh, okay." And then the Chad type, he wants to play an elf monk, and the DM's like, "No elf monks." And like in the game, you see the guy like the paladin walk up and snatch the freaking ears off.
And it's the priest. It's like, and this monk who is definitely not an elf, as he rips the ears. Says, wow. He's also like, if you're playing a monk, it's medieval Western. Bzzzt.
Yeah.
Funny.
Except the guy playing a monk, every time they show him in game, he's dressed up like Joaquin Chain, you know, the
Yeah.
Halloween thing.
Is this the thing on YouTube that I just looked
Yeah,
up?
No, it's an actual movie.
Movie. Monty Cook is in it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like an hour for. Okay, I just found out.
Yeah, it's like an hour and a half
for later.
So
Monty Cook
James,
played one of the priests.
I'm sharing an image with you, James.
I will put it up.
So this,
I have a good idea what image you may share with me,
you may not.
or maybe not. You do surprise me occasionally, my good man. Okie dokie. Let's see. Oh, I gotta hit the button, not just
Hit the
click
button,
on it.
Frank. So this is Jen as Lady America. And what we did was she did a photo shoot just in a white bodysuit. And then we had a guy we had on DeviantArt who was a really good photo manipulator. So he took those pictures and photo manipulated into this. Like she has really long blonde hair and he was able to make it look like the short spiky stuff and all that. But that, that's her. That's Jen.
Well, she did an amazing job in that thing. And if you ever talk to her again, tell her, at least one hillbilly in America that thought she was amazing.
I bet you there's more than one, but I will pass it on next time we talk.
Well, I'm sure you know more than one. Anyone who watches it's going to say, damn, she's nice. Of course, they play up the bard, running around seducing.
The horny bard does not speak for us.
Yeah. But it's really good. It's kind of not as nerdy and quirky as the original one, and then yet kind of in ways is. It's hard to explain. Like in the original one, they accidentally kill the mage. So the guy who was playing the mage makes a new character who is basically identical to his dead character. And for the rest of the movie, they're constantly calling the new mage by the old mage's name.
No, he's dead. Try again.
No, eventually the mage player just ignores it. He's just like, okay, Magellan. And the main enemy is the Shadow. And they got this like kind of goofy dude playing the barbarian. And he's like, that's where you get the story of the guy backstabbing somebody with a ballista. And apparently they were just a bunch of dorks that went to college in Michigan or someplace like that. And they played D&D and they all got together and said, you know what?
Seattle.
Where? Seattle?
Yeah.
Well, that's less cool, but still. And they got together and made a movie about playing D&D, and they nailed it pretty well. Actually, they got it pretty well. So, like later on, if you're not doing anything after I go to run my game and you're just hanging out, put it on. It's on YouTube.
The first one, yeah. I prefer the second one, though, to be honest.
Oh, there's more.
The first one was so indie, and I hated the repetitive story note of the girl that was trying to study coming and yelling at them. Like once or twice was funny, but it just kept going and going and going.
She was also the princess.
In the second one, yeah. In the second one, she's the goddess.
Yeah.
At the end, she plays the goddess, yeah.
And then you had Mark, the guy who constantly called out of the game, but they kept his character around as an NPC. And he ends up getting just ripped apart. And the one guy's like, I can't believe he would give up the chance to hang out in this nasty smelling, dank basement with us, all for the chance of maybe getting laid by a girl. And they're like, yeah, imagine that. And then they all stop for like a minute and they're just like, anyway, so what did I roll for initiative? Yeah. One of the guys in the original Gamers, and he's in the second one too, even though they murder him, reminds me of a guy that I used to game with, and it's the little guy that played the thief. I have a buddy that looks and acts just like that guy. And it's like, all right. But anyway, yeah, they're all good. The third one was my least favorite because it's like I don't give a shit about card games and whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But the other ones, man, them running around being complete assholes.
You ever see their comedy series they did? Something Quest.
Well, I know they tried the one where it's the orc and the bard.
Yeah, and it's the wizard with the yellow hat that's always falling off, played by the little guy, and the sword that wants to kill him, the talking sword that just wants him dead at any cost.
The crazy paladin that just kills everything.
God. And he's like as dumb as a fence post.
He's dumb as a post. And he's just
What's
like
that thing called?
Epic. And then like the bard and the orc kind of have a connection, and they're like, anyway, John Galt, great name from a relatively decent series of book series of movies. Hello. But yeah. And the guy who played the Chad guy in Gamers 2 plays a priest who gets turned into a zombie.
And then his god is denying him.
Yeah,
and God's trying to convince him to come on over. What was that fucking show called? It was something Quest.
And I don't know if the blonde chick from the second one was in it.
Yeah, she was in it for a little bit as the wife of the barbarian.
The wife of the big barbarian guy. Who was basically Conan, if Conan was just a little bit more melanated. But you could definitely see where they got the idea of him. He was just the purple ninja, yeah. There used to be all kinds of like stuff like that on YouTube where people were making, like actual D&D.
Journey Quest, that's the name of it.
Journey Quest, yeah.
There's a bunch of episodes too.
Oh yeah, they're short, but they were putting them out pretty regularly.
But season 4 still hasn't happened, but they've done 3 seasons.
Yeah, there were a bunch of things like that. I remember, did anyone ever see, it was based around a MMO, but anyone ever see The Guild? They were
I hated that fucking show.
Of course.
Fuck, I hate her so much.
Felicia Day?
I can't stand her. Like nothing. How to Ruin the New Mystery Science Theater. Oh, Felicia Day and Patton Oswalt are going to be on it. Well, I'm out.
Ugh. Really?
Yeah. They did 3 seasons with them. Now they're coming back to do more. I can't stand it.
I can't stand Patton Oswalt in a major way.
I really despise him.
I can't remember what he did that allows him to be famous.
Stand-up comedy and The King of Queens.
Yeah.
And he was really good friends with Dave Chappelle. He kind of did a Joe Piscopo with Eddie Murphy kind of thing.
That's one of the best lines ever. The worst part was it's amazing how Eddie Murphy's success went to Joe Piscopo's head.
Yeah, I still am unimpressed by him then. It's like,
and the way he threw him under the bus too.
I haven't seen that outfit, Janet. You need to send us pictures, Janet. Come on.
For the movie review? Oh, yeah.
You gotta dress up for the movie reviews.
Yeah.
Oh, aren't you supposed to be reviewing a movie right now, or is that over, that finish?
I think they do their movie reviews on Saturday.
On Sunday. No, it's on Sunday. I sit on there for once in a while. Janet sent me a message on Discord, Doc. Ooh.
Weren't you on one of their movie reviews?
I've done a few of them, yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching and seeing. I remember watching and seeing you on it. So, and Bruce is like, "I'll get you on," and I'm like, "Dude, I'm always gaming on Sunday, so Yeah, she dressed up like some kind of sci-fi princess a couple episodes back. I don't know what you guys were watching, but it was interesting. It's kind of like the reason that I can't ever join Shadow's Appendix N night, because generally speaking, I've read everything that they ever talk about. And then I'm like, when they start talking about it, I'm like, yeah, you missed the point on that. So basically, I'm just a horrible guest.
That's fair.
Yeah, so.
Oh, Doc got it. I didn't get it. Doc's special. Hmm.
Doc is special, though.
Yeah, but in a short bus kind of way.
Hey, it doesn't matter. He got the picture.
As my friend once said, special means retarded.
Yeah. And yet, in this contest, he comes out victorious.
Well, people take pity on the, mentally handicapped.
Was that my headlight episode? I might have said something about some headlights.
Yeah, I remember that episode.
Same ones. Yeah. There were definitely some headlights there.
Oh, I got a picture now too. Yay.
See, now you can feel like you're part of the group.
Well, I subscribe to the squeaky wheel gets the grease mentality, right?
Yeah. I subscribe to I want to hurt you just to hear you scream my name.
What?
You didn't hear that?
There's some 9 Inch Nails bullshit.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Actually, no, it's Alice Cooper. Poison.
Oh.
I want to hurt you just to hear you screaming my name. I love Alice Cooper. Get out here. I've liked Alice Cooper since 18.
There's an awesome video of Alice Cooper on YouTube where he's talking about the time he met Elvis Presley and nearly shot him. It's definitely worth looking
There's
into.
no shit.
I think my favorite Alice Cooper song, though, because I am very basic, Peace. Oh, look at that.
Oh, my shit. I was like, where's my shit?
I think is probably no more Mr. Nice Guy. That's I know it's basic. It's not really digging deep into the discography or any kind of hipstery shit like that. And my favorite part is where he went to church incognito and all that, and then the Reverend spots him and punches him in the nose. And he's just like, no more Mr. Nice Guy. Yeah, Poison, both versions, John Galt. Both versions. Because I love Alice Cooper Poison, but I also like Poison by Belle Biv DeVoe. Right. Boy,
I must warn you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before you step to a fly, girl. And all that shit.
That girl is poison. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. We used to dance our fucking asses off to that shit in the early 90s.
How do I know she's a loser? Yo, me and the crew used to do her. Poison. That shit was great, man. But of course, yeah. Alice Cooper's Poison is, and you think in the video Poison, he's got to be 60 plus.
Yeah, how old is he? He was around from like early 60s, wasn't he?
Yeah, like when he did 18, that was like 1960 something. And how they fixed the song is when it was originally written, it was like twice as fast.
Yeah, he's hard to pin down because he kind of looked like 90 when he was 20.
And he's like, I'm 18. I just don't want you, right? And some guy, producer said, here's what you need to do. Slow that shit way down. And they did, and it immediately became a hit. Janet said she didn't hear what you said there, Bear.
Context?
Yeah. Things move fast around here.
If you don't take a moment to look around, it might just pass you by.
Yeah.
What the fuck movie is that?
That was Ferris Bueller.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Ferris Bueller, thank you.
So you're trying to tell me you're the sausage king of Chicago.
Abe Froman. Yep.
Ed Froman. Yeah. Then he gets up on the float and sings Dankeschön.
Which was supposed to be earlier in the film, eh? They re-edited it to put it later in the film.
Did they?
Basically, yeah, because they were like, there's a whole story about the editing of that film and how basically they shot it. It wasn't working, it wasn't connecting, and then they just changed some timing and editing, and it just clicked like magic. Good film.
People don't realize how important the editing is in movies.
George Lucas didn't, and then his wife saved Star Wars.
I was getting ready to say that. You beat me to it, but yes, I concur.
Now, I really want to see some of these edits of The Hobbit, because I've heard a couple of them that break it into one movie. It's actually really good.
You know, it's kind of like if you go on YouTube, there is a version of Dune called the Sandwalker Edition or something.
Yeah, of the David Lynch one.
It's David Lynch, but they add so much shit to it and change it around, and it's like 4 hours long. Save Ferris, yeah. And his sister's, that's back when what's her name was hot, and then she got a nose job, and now she's
What was, oh my God.
Now she's just so generic looking. It's like not her best movie though, because Red Dawn was her best movie.
Yeah, so I got Christy Swanson as Simone in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
He's sick. My best friend's sister's boyfriend's brother's girlfriend heard from this guy who knows this kid who's going with the girl who saw Ferris pass out at 31 Flavors last night. I guess it's pretty serious.
Yeah.
Fuck, you know?
The young Charlie Sheen. Drugs. What? What are you in for? Drugs? No. What are you in for? Drugs.
Drugs.
And then by the end of it, they're making out and shit.
I really like the fan theory, and somebody should re-edit it to make it work. That Ferris Bueller is a hallucination of Cameron's.
Oh, kind of like a Calvin and Hobbes, except
he's imagining Ferris Bueller the entire time.
Yeah, well, if they did that, you would basically just be recreating Fight Club, but with a lot less explosives.
Well, that's the thing, right? That's the whole idea, is that there's the idea that Ferris doesn't really exist. He's just the other guy, Cameron's illusion, right? And you know what? I sort of see what they're going for, and I get it, but the movie doesn't support it.
Yeah, it's because there's too many,
Ferris scenes.
Yeah.
The theory I heard from my daughter, of all people, because she's a huge fan of Fight Club, read the book and everything, is that the main character Fight Club, whom they never tell you his actual name, is Calvin, grown up. And he can't have an imaginary tiger anymore. So he has a Tyler Durden.
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
Like, I guess his parents split up and his dad went off doing whatever. And Calvin grew up and got a corporate job and hated it. And
Janet, you are more than welcome to join us. James can throw up the link. We're always happy to have someone class up this joint.
Of course.
Yeah, somebody made a trailer of like a live action Calvin and Hobbes movies where he's like in college. The stuffed tiger is like talking through him from his closet door, and he starts doing all this like crazy shit. He's like,
well, I mean, the guy who wrote Calvin and Hobbes is like a hermit.
Yeah, Bill Watterson. Yeah, he used to do this thing where he would sneak into the Barnes and Noble near his home, or if he was on a trip, he'd go to Barnes and Noble and randomly autograph collections on the shelf and put them back. But then people found out about it, so they started hunting the ones near his house. So he stopped doing it because they were selling them on eBay.
Oh.
Yeah, for the longest time, he like no one's seen him. He'd just be in his house. Like, so he was an extremely famous guy that did not like to be a famous guy. You know, he just wanted to draw cartoons about an rambunctious little kid and his imaginary tiger.
Yeah.
But I absolutely love Calvin and Hobbes. You know, Spaceman Spiff and all that shit.
Transmogrifier, scientific process goes boink.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was great. The guy had a great idea. Let's take a kid, an imaginary tiger, and make them do lots of silly shit. But every now and then, drop an actual philosophical point. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of cartoons where they're just being completely silly, but every now and then there'll be one where they're like walking through the woods and they're talking and they're actually
Well, do you understand why it's called Calvin and Hobbes, right?
right.
Because it's Calvinism versus Hobbesian philosophy. So Calvin is always questioning everything. Why does this happen? Is this supposed to be this way? Why is things turning out this way? Question. And Hobbes is like, shit happens, deal with it. You know what I mean? It's like it's introductory philosophy for young people to understand, get into the idea of thinking beyond their own brain.
And that is true. That was basically Hobbes' answer to everything.
Shit happens, and
Get
Calvin
back
was
and let it
questioning
go.
everything. You know.
Just
Calvin
kick back and enjoy life.
Calvin was like, there's this whole fucking unbelievable, reason for everything happening. And if I can just figure it out, I'll understand the universe. And Hobbesian theory is the world happens. You are in it. Good luck.
To quote Morrison, who I don't know if he's quoted somebody or not, said, no one gets out alive.
No one here gets out alive. There was a buddy of mine used to, when I was in Indiana going to Bloomington, he used to tape the MST 3Ks for me off of Sci-Fi, and then Christmas bring the tapes back so I'd get to watch them. And there was this one ad, and it was for like a church group in the area, and there would be this moment in this dark fucking ad shot on like for local cable with a video camera type thing, where the guy just says, the death rate amongst humans is 100%. And I was just like, Jesus, he's right, but he's out of line.
It's like he's out of line, but he's correct.
But he's correct. Like, just the way he said it, but he's not wrong,
No, he's not wrong. I forget, there was another movie. Well, it was Fight Club, where the guy says, on a long enough timeline, everyone dies. And it's like, yeah, he's not wrong. If you wait long enough, everything goes to shit.
Well, James, you know what the most dangerous planet is?
Earth?
Yes, because everybody dies on it.
Well, yeah.
Is Janet waiting for us in the back room, or did she not click on the link?
Oh, she is. Thank you for. I kept waiting and I didn't see her. And you said something, got my attention. I'm terrible. There she is with all of her lights behind her, looking like a discotheque. Hello,
Looking
Hey,
like
Janet.
Hey guys. Yeah, I'm not going to complain because I do it to other people, so I'm not going to say anything. But so you guys seen that when I did the Darkness Rising thing with the goblet? You guys have seen that before?
I've seen it.
I don't know if I have. I might have
Because
to
that
look
was a
at
fun
it.
movie, and I had never even heard of it until Bruce said, I want you to watch it, because I was just starting to play
Yeah.
with him.
Yeah, this is
So.
the first I've heard of it here. I just marked it
Are you
to watch
playing a
a
game
little
tonight,
later.
Doc? Are you running your game
I need
today?
to watch Darkness Rising. I never heard of it.
No, and this is making me crazy. And if he's watching, I don't care if he gets pissed off. I'm getting really annoyed with one of my players.
It's not Hungar, is it?
No, it's it's
Don't
just
say his name.
he keeps flaking. Oh, I can't
Don't
do
know
it
who
this
it
day.
is.
I can't do it this day. Oh, actually, I could have done it this way. I was just mentioning that this thing was going on. It was like, fucking dude.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, we playing tonight? It's like, oh shit. He says, can everybody else play? Because you and then it's like, oh my god, it's making me nuts. It's making me nuts. He's a great player. I really like him. It's just shit like this is making me insane.
You can do what Professor Dungeon Master says. If you miss 3 games and nobody's dying, you're out.
Mhm.
I'm not saying you could do that.
He's also a bit of a spotlight hog.
Look at
And
this
I'm,
idiot.
and I'm working on another
He
player
jumped
who is like
prison.
a little reticent to get involved. He's a little quiet, and he's like kind of constantly talking over him, and it's getting me mad.
In that case, Doc, since you don't have a game tonight, I'm thinking about running, not running, but playing on my Discord. We'll watch Journey Quest, which is each episode's like 10, 15 minutes.
Oh,
And we
they're
can
nice.
Probably through all 3 seasons tonight. And then you can join the rest of us of waiting forever for a season 4 that's never coming. Despite them having made a trailer.
What
I
is
don't know how
that?
that feels.
A year ago. So the guys
is
who
that
made
now?
Gamers 2 Dorkmas Rising
Mhm.
made a D&D serialized show called Journey Quest, which is really fucking funny.
I haven't seen
And
it.
it's basically just about a bunch of characters in a fantasy world on their quest. But it's really fun.
It's
Sounds
pretty
cool.
funny. It's
I'll have
pretty
to
funny.
start watching it, I guess.
I'll send you
And
the
there
link.
are a lot of episodes, and the main character, I think, is this bard, and she has to, in order to graduate bard school, she has to get an epic.
Yeah.
So they send her off to get her epic, and then she encounters, of course, all the other characters.
But the bards have like almost like a Star Trek Prime Directive, which is they're not allowed to interfere in the epic. They're just there to record the epic.
Right.
But naturally, she's going to start interfering and getting involved.
Right.
I mean, that's just the way it's going to be.
So do they play music to get people to do things?
No, she's a chronicler. She's a story writer.
Oh, I thought you said the
she's
bards.
just like-
Yeah, bards. So bards aren't okay. Everyone out there who doesn't know this, I'm going to drop this bullshit on you because it's important to understand that.
Mhm.
Bards are not necessarily musicians. I fucking hate that trope. Bards can be actors.
That's
they
all
can
I've ever
be singers,
seen.
They can be storytellers. They can be jugglers. They can be dancers. They're performers.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I hate that 5th edition immediately qualified them as musical.
Right.
Fucking theater kids.
Well, in Castles and Crusades, they're not even called bards.
Well, in Bastard Sword, when I still owned that name, they were called jonglers
Yeah.
Well,
in
why
Castles
don't they just call them
Crusades-
performers?
because you need a cool sounding medieval name.
Oh,
In Castles and Crusades, they're called scalds.
Scalds, which is a bad choice because that's a specific
Yeah, it's a
Nordic
very-
type bard.
Which means they were the storytellers and the myth keepers of Viking Scandinavian society.
And played drums in battle.
But I think that their actual basic setting is very Scandinavian. So that would make sense.
Arity, I can never pronounce the name of that fucking
Yeah,
set.
it's like Artie or something, and it's really it's its own thing, but whatever.
Well, it's like, what's his name? You know, Jordan, the PH is silent. He was doing Forgotten Realms for years. He started doing Greyhawk now, right?
Mhm.
And he cannot get past the fact that he wants to pronounce Oerth as Oith. It's like, and I know they said that, but they also have said that Oerth is also an acceptable pronunciation. So he keeps going Oith, and I'm just like,
They're both kind of gross, really.
He must be.
hey, welcome to Greyhawk. It's on the planet Oith. How you doing? That's what it sounds like, bud.
Hello, Paisanos.
I would say he's saying the name with a Flaness accent.
I would say get the fuck away from my table if you pulled that shit out on me.
Which just happens to sound just like Coney Island.
Yeah. Does everybody in the Flaness sound like they're from Brooklyn? Is that how that works? You know,
They might, but I pronounce it Oerth, which must be the Soloese version.
okay, now you're just being a dick. That would be Oerdian. Clearly, it would be Oerdian. Oerth.
That's true
Oerdian?
because the Soloese language is very harsh and guttural.
Yeah.
Basically, it's German. Who was
That'd
the
be
bard
awesome.
in Robin Hood? That's obvious. It's whoever was singing all the songs all the time.
Alan Adale.
Was it the chicken?
Was it Alan Adale or was it Will
It was
Scarlett?
Will Scarlett. Will Scarlett was the musician.
No, it depends on which version.
Yeah, it varies.
Alan Adale. It's
But
Alan
in the one
Adale.
I'm thinking is the Disney cartoon, and I think it was the rooster. That was like Robin Hood and Little John running
It's
through.
Alan Adale.
Yeah, he's obviously the
A
bard.
lot of changes got made to those stories. For instance, in the earliest stories, Maid Marian is actually Friar Tuck's girlfriend.
What? Wow. Okay.
I didn't know a friar could have a girlfriend.
They're not supposed to. The whole thing, he
Wow.
was kind of like a rogue, had been
Yeah.
chased out of his
Yeah.
monastery.
Alan Adale is a wandering minstrel who became a member of Robin's band of outlaws. He's a relatively late addition to the legend, first appearing in the 17th century.
So damn that if he's
Another variant appears where the hero is not Alan but Will Scarlett, but Alan has taken over that role completely. There you go.
I was going to say if they think the 17th century is a late edition, how old is that story?
They come.
Robin Hood,
They're set in the 11th century.
13th, 14th century AD is when those first stories were being written.
I mean, yeah, you're right, because the king, not John, but their king's on crusade, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
So that's
Yeah.
like 11th or 12th century. So yeah.
Yeah, it's during the reign of Richard, who was never actually in England, but for like 2 days.
He wasn't in England very long. He just
Didn't even speak the language.
nope. He was French. He even it was even a joke about him wanting to sell the
Oh, the
Sell
Earl.
England.
The thing is, the Robin Hood stories had been around long before they were written down. It was just these peasant stories that had been going on for centuries, and he's based primarily on two semi-historical figures that kind of got merged into one person.
Well, I
That's
get
what
it.
And even
either-
that
It's like a
you
peasant.
either
black person.
Yeah,
you either get this like noble guy or just a brutal cutthroat of a
You know who the best version of Robin Hood is?
who.
Time Bandits.
Time Bandits.
John Cleese is Robin Hood.
yeah, that was awesome.
And he's like the Merry Men are just thugs. He's really nice. And every time he gives something to the poor, the guy hits him over the head and takes it. Is that absolutely necessary?
that movie. We need to do
Huh?
that movie.
Time
Time Bandits.
Bandits. I'd be there for that if there's no.
I haven't
conflict.
seen it.
That's a great film.
I was going to say the best version of
I
Robin
keep
Hood.
trying to
was-
write them all down. It's just hard to keep track.
The Terry Gilliam
all
movies,
of
he didn't
you-
do a lot, but
All of you have your own games. You're all GMs.
Yeah, I run tonight. Actually, I'm just waiting for the rest of the knuckleheads to show up.
I'm the only non-DM here.
I'm not a DM. That's what
So,
I
it's super
Well,
easy.
one
You
of the
could
other
do
ones.
it.
that's why you guys are at the
Bitches
bottom.
ride side.
It's so easy, even a caveman could do it.
I
You
don't
remember those commercials, and then the caveman started getting angry about it, like he thought it was racist or something.
They tried to make a series out of
They
that.
did.
It didn't
Yeah, they
work
did
out.
try to make
Like,
a series out of it. It was
Well, no, they
stupid.
didn't try. They did make a series out of it. It just
It didn't last
work.
long.
There was an English Robin Hood series that was pretty good.
Oh,
Yeah, the
Robin.
one,
that. But they changed Robin halfway through the series to Jason Connery, and it
Connery,
kind
yeah.
of goes downhill real fucking fast.
See, I
It
don't
was
remember that,
very
but I
hit or
do remember
miss. There were
that
some good
episode.
Why did they
episodes. A lot
change
of
the
it.
actor in the middle of
He
the
quit.
show?
The guy
Because the
left
original
to
actor quit.
Dynasty or something,
Yeah, he got hired to do Dynasty. Michael Parade, I think his name was.
something like that.
Yeah. But when he was on the original run of that, the first half, really good. Really, really good.
It leads very heavily into like the Celtic mysticism, and it was very
Well,
interesting.
Hearn the Hunter is basically gives him his task at the beginning, right?
Right.
He runs
Right.
into Hearn, and Hearn's like, "You doing this shit, boy?" And he's like, "Okay, I'm doing this shit." A giant moose fur guy with antlers coming out of his fucking bucket helmet just told me to do it. I guess I'm doing it. Okay. Yeah, it's a good
See?
show.
Just one actor leaving a show can ruin it, I
Yep.
guess.
It could have been sillier. He could have been given his quest by some tart hanging out in the lake.
Moistened and scarcely had swords. There's no system of government.
Yeah. Some random tart distributing swords from a pond.
If I went around claiming I was emperor,
Right.
And now we see the violence inherent in the system. Everyone,
Oh,
come see the violence inherent in the
bloody
system.
peasant! Oh, you hear that?
I'm
Dead
being
giveaway.
oppressed.
Yeah. Oh, we're impressed. So
Who's that? Must be king. How you know? The only one who got shit all over him.
yeah, he's like, we didn't shit.
Yeah, Mighty Python Holy Grail is eternally a classic.
Did I watch that with you recently?
Yeah.
I know I saw it recently. Okay.
We watched it like before Christmas or something.
It's basically ridiculous to the point of like, because
Genius.
it's like in the end you realize they're all like inmates at like Bedlam or some shit.
You don't even need to realize. Just at the end, you just go, "Well, that fucking happened." Okay, you know.
And it turns out the French guys had the grill the whole time.
Yeah.
When they're like,
This is the castle of my master Gulamba.
It's funny. I
It's
saw
very nice.
an interview with John Cleese, and they'd basically gotten to where they ended the movie, and they had no idea what to do with it. And then Graham Chapman says, "You know that gag we did with the cops earlier? Why don't we
Yeah.
just have them come arrest everybody?"
And then they reached out to like local reenactors to come show up to be the Arthur's army and all that. It's really cool.
Oh my God. One of the best scenes ever in that movie. And I actually have, I'll show you because I like show and tell. You might recognize this guy.
Now it's too powerless.
And you see him
Joe
coming
Gray.
across the field and he's far away and the music's playing. And far. Next thing you know, he just cuts somebody.
This is an happy occasion. Let's not quibble over who killed who.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I just get carried away.
It wouldn't match my idiom, sir. Idiom. Yes. It's a great film.
He
I
gets
love that
up to the
film.
top and he finds like the effeminate prince there. You know,
I'm sorry. I thought your son was a lady.
Oh,
I
so
did not know the Babylon 5 guy had some issues. I will not judge. I've seen a psychiatrist enough that I probably should have a degree by now. If apprenticeship was still a thing. I mean, I've been apprentice for about 15 years. So anyway.
Well, that is a fact that if you study something for so many hours, supposedly you have more knowledge on it than most people would have on that topic. So
I have no knowledge.
That's why I know more about masturbation than any man alive.
hey, I might have you beat on the woman's side.
Oh my goodness.
Challenge accepted.
How are we going to keep track?
Well, that'll be an offline conversation.
Yes.
We'll just have to, every time we stream, we'll hold up a can of a booze or whatever and saying, okay,
Exactly.
put that on the chart. She did it.
That
She
would
just
be
did it.
horrible.
Or
And we're
whatever.
not doing it. But
Hey,
the
women
biggest
do the
problem
same
with that
shit as
conversation-
guys. There's no difference between that stuff. I'm telling you.
You
I
think
agree
the biggest
with you.
problem is we all know the female orgasm is a lie.
ouch.
Who says that? Why would we waste our time doing that then if it wasn't real?
Just to keep your man happy and maybe have babies.
No, I mean masturbation wise.
Maybe
why
just
would a
both.
woman? So
I don't know. You're
what
inspecting.
all
you're
men need to
inspecting
do is have their woman masturbate for them. Then they know whether she's faking later on, right? You ever think of that?
I never cared.
Well, just saying.
I'm saying.
And
I
this is
scared
why
everyone
you don't have a
away.
lot of women on this show, James. Just pointing that
I'm
out.
sorry. I can leave.
No, you're fine.
Oh,
James.
he's
I'm pointing
making
out
a joke
his
because of me being.
problem.
You know, it's like
Hey,
they
I'm going to
say.
answer the questions. If it's not too bad, I will answer.
It's like if you pull your pants down and a woman says, "Who do you think you're going to satisfy with that?" The correct
Me.
answer is me.
Exactly.
Well, most of it's in here, and the rest of it is in here.
Again, let's go back to talking about Monty Python.
Reminds me of the True Detective thing where he's talking about doing stuff like with this girl, and her roommate comes in and he's like going down on the girl, and the roommate sneaks up behind him and sticks her finger in his butt, and everybody
I
starts
saw
laughing
that.
at him, and he's all like, "And now I can't even get off without it."
What's
Woody
season
Harrelson
three
when he's
That's
in
in
the
a
bar talking
movie?
to all the other cops.
That's in a movie?
I don't remember that scene. I mean, I believe you. I
That's
just don't
the
remember it.
greatest TV series of all time, True Detective season 1.
Yeah, no.
Detective.
Bear, you're wrong.
It's the
And I'm not even
greatest
going to bring up
fucking
the fact
damn
that you're from
squib of a
Connecticut.
TV
True
series in history.
Detective. When did that come out?
5 years ago.
Oh man, 15 years ago.
Oh,
The,
no,
ri- the original?
It's
True
got
Detective?
Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey and a
Mhm.
bunch of like Lovecraftian crazy shit,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just nuts. And of course, Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson are at the top of their game in this series, and the way they interact with each other eats the screen up. I can't say enough about it. I mean, it's
2014.
so good,
2014.
huh?
Came out in 2014.
So 11 years.
11 years ago,
And
yeah.
so in that scene, supposedly somebody poked somebody in the butt. Is that what you're saying? That's what I was trying to
Okay,
figure
the
out.
cop, Woody Harrelson's character is constantly cheating on his smoking hot ass wife
Mhm.
because he's so stressed out about the job he does, which is homicide, that he needs mental release. So that's his excuse for being on Facebook, right? And in this particular story, at the bar with his other cop friends, he's saying he was doing stuff with this girl, and her roommate, another girl, came home, saw his white pasty ass just sticking up, and just ran up and put a finger in it.
Oh,
And
okay.
the punchline is that now he can't get off without it. That's the whole punchline.
That
And
means
all
he has
After
to accept
Monty
two women.
Python, you know, and D&D.
What's
Clear
up,
road.
Shadow? And probably not Sun, just Shadow.
Hey, Shadow.
But then Matthew McConaughey's character had murdered somebody for putting a baby in a microwave. So they put him on undercover narcotics duty and then forgot about him for like 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time he comes back, he is so tweaked out from having done so much drugs, you know, because he was the guy. They're like, is this real? He'll take it, you know? So now he's having hallucinations all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but he's not 100% sure if they are hallucinations. And he's like the ultimate nihilist. And of course, Woody Harrelson is the family man, decent Southern guy, except for his constant cheating. And boy, they do not get along at first. I love it when they're riding and Matthew McConaughey's saying something. Woody Harrelson just looks at him and says, how about we make the car shut the fuck up place for a while? And he's constantly telling Matthew McConaughey, whatever you do, do not repeat that shit to anyone else around you. That shit will not fly.
Have either of you guys got to meet either of them in person?
I have not, man.
Sadly, no.
The only famous people I can claim to have met is Shaquille O'Neal multiple times and William Shatner, and only because I was the food runner at the table at Charlie's Steakhouse when he brought his wife, I think, in.
Mm-hmm.
And he insisted that they give him a private banquet room just for him and her, and that he have one waiter and one food runner, and that is it. And I was the food runner. So I didn't get to talk to him other than, would you like your potato fluffed, sir? But he did leave us like $100 tip, which I got a cut of. So
That's good.
not a cheap guy. And you know what? I'm going to sit here and say I dig it. He's like 70-something years old. He's out on a date with his wife. He's dropping a couple $100 easy. This is like the #1 rated steakhouse in Orlando. He don't want to be effed with. Totally understand. Totally understand. I don't know if it was like an anniversary or whatever, but I get it. And Shaquille O'Neal, when I worked at the fire department, my engineer, what his side hustle was, he was a guide for hunting and fishing. Shaq loves hunting and fishing. So he literally hired the engineer that drove the truck on my shift to take him out hunting and fishing all over Central Florida. So he would come to the station. And that guy, boy, like to walk into the door, he has to duck to walk into the door. Like if our bay doors aren't open and he walks in through the bay, but if he comes into the station, the normal door, this dude bends down to get in, and his hand is the size of a baseball mitt. It's like this big. So when you shake hands with him, it's like you're a little baby, and you shake like a hand. But he's super nice. I mean, so chill. You wouldn't think that you were talking to a guy with like tens of millions of dollars and whatever. I mean, super chill. Loves shooting pigs. So there you go. That's Shaquille O'Neal. And the guy he had taking him out is like the biggest Osceola County redneck that we had at the department. And that's the two out in the middle of the swamp, you know, doing their thing. That's it though. No, Charlie Daniels when I was a little kid. Yeah, that's it.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Well, the Charlie Daniels thing was kind of like my mom worked at the restaurant at a Holiday Inn, and she was single at the time, and I was very young. So when she had to work shifts, especially morning shifts, she would take me. And I would sit with a little crayon book or whatever in a booth, and she would get me, you know, some French toast and bacon or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be there her whole shift, and she would feed me, and I would. And one day we looked up, and Charlie Daniels was in the next booth. So I just walked up with my crayon book and was like, "Could you sign this, sir?" And he's like, "Of course." Even though he's blind as shit, but you know. What up, ladies and gentlemen? Well, there is a lady, and I don't know if there's any gentlemen. So you're wrong
I
there.
get to meet Pete Rose.
I own a tie.
When I went to Vegas, he was there, and I asked him for an autograph, but it wasn't for me. It was for a friend of mine whose husband was overseas, and he loved Pete Rose. So he signed it. He signed a hat for me. I bought a hat from him, and he signed it for the guy that I was sending it to.
When I grew up, when I was living in Kentucky growing up, I was such a Cardinals fan. And Pete Rose was the shit.
He was really nice.
To this day, the fact that I think they might have lifted the injunction, but the fact that they kept trying to keep him out of the Hall of Fame.
I think they let him in there now.
They needed
It's
to.
not like
He's
he-
a great baseball
Yeah,
player.
and his wife was standing behind him. She was the one directing people and stuff for him, and she was really sweet and nice too.
Yeah,
So
because he never bet against his own team. He always bet on his team to win. So it wasn't like they accused him of like.
Well,
Point
even if
shaving
you
or
get
anything.
rid of the betting thing, because let's be honest, modern baseball is full of a bunch of junkies shooting up everything to be badasses.
Mhm.
I mean, the guy was unarguably fantastic at baseball. He was a great player, and he wasn't. It
And a
wasn't
great
like
manager
what's
as
his
well.
name that has the giant head because he was taking so much human growth hormones and shit.
Mhm.
Or the one redheaded guy that won the Sultan of SWAT, and you find out that dude's on so much steroids and shit.
Well, if you look at pictures of him from his early career, and he's this skinny little guy, and then later on he's like the fucking Hulk.
Yeah, the redheaded guy.
Yeah,
What was his
yeah.
name? Nick something.
Yeah, I'm blanking the name, but yeah.
Yeah, he's a skinny dude that plays baseball. And
Yeah,
then
Barry
towards the
Bonds
end of his
too.
career,
Was
he's
this
like
little like
400 pounds of just slab of freaking muscle. Like they lifted it after his death. Well, you know what? Whatever. I don't think they ever should have had any. I mean, should they have maybe told him not to do what he did and possibly maybe penalized him? Maybe, but I mean, you can't take away the fact that the dude played the game for like 20 years and was absolutely amazing every year of it. It's like, it'd be like, we all know Michael Jordan had a gambling issue. You're going to act like Michael Jordan ain't one of the great basketball players of all time because he liked to gamble?
Mhm.
Mark McGuire, that was his name. That's his name. So it was just dumb. But we showed
My mother was a huge baseball fan. I mean, she just loved. She always watched all the games. My dad was never really into sports, but my dad would be gone for almost a whole year. We wouldn't even see him because he was in the military, and he traveled and he trained men, how to jump out of planes and jungle survival and scuba diving and all that kind of stuff. So my mom would.
Sounds
she
like
was
he's hardcore.
Well, he was when he was in the service.
Yeah.
So I said he's the one that would take me on the weekend when he would be home, and he made me carry my own rucksack and everything. And I remember one time, I think I was like 9 or 10, and I had my own little bag on, and I sat down because I was tired, and I sat on a rusted stump or an old rotty stump, and my ass went right through it, and I fell backward, rolled down the hill, and my dad just laughed and said, "Well, next time feel up the seat before you sit on." That's what he told me. But yeah,
it wasn't
I
full of
loved it.
ants or something.
So what? I'm sorry.
I said it's a good thing it wasn't full of ants.
Well, no, it was wet. This was when we lived in Spokane, Washington.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of ant problems in the Pacific Northwest.
No.
Now,
They just got those
spiders,
killer
whole
hornets.
other thing,
They got killer hornets up there. They don't bother with ants.
and crackheads. Lots and lots of crackheads.
Well, we got
More crackheads than you can shake a stick at.
There's
Mad
just
Dad,
lots
I
of
agree.
drug people in cities, I would think.
Well, I mean, where you're talking about is such a weird place because it's like we have our view of that region, but it's like it's only the cities. Like if you're in Seattle, yeah, it's full of crazy people. But if you drive an hour east of Seattle, you're on a dairy farm.
Yeah, I lived in Spokane. It was at the Air Force Base there. Where we
I lived in the British Columbia, which is the Canadian Pacific Northwest, so just above Washington State.
British
And
Columbia.
I got bad news for you, son. You get outside the lower mainland into the mountain valleys, and you start finding weird ass community shit like cult towns and stuff like that. Okay, they're pretty fucked up. They're like the northwest version of the Adirondacks. You know what I'm saying? Or the Appalachians. There's a lot of weird shit going on.
Nothing surprises me.
Yeah, well,
See,
there
I
you
was
go.
lucky. I grew up in Air Force bases. So, I didn't see a lot of the things that a lot of other people had to grow up seeing in the cities and things like that. So,
Well, what Bear's saying is 100% true, though. When you get a group of people isolated in a mountain holler somewhere, weird shit happens. It gets really strange really quick.
inbreeding.
Not
So-
just inbreeding, like weird political, like religious groups. It's just like weird.
Yeah, inbreeding is just one of the possible outcomes.
That's pedestrian. You know? When you find a town that's all like the Church of the Solar Temple of Jesus's anus, you're like, what the fuck is wrong with these people?
These people living in hollers worshiping some kind of Cthulhu god or something.
Worshiping a tree stump that one guy thought looked kind of like a butterfly. Like
See, on the military base, we had church, but it was a non-denominational. Everybody went to the same church, and every so often there'd be different pastors doing different weekends or whatever. So I just never saw any really freaky stuff, I guess.
Well, I'm not talking about any military base. I'm
Well,
talking.
that's all I have to go by because that's what I grew up in.
Hey, Cody.
Hey, Cody, how you doing, bro? No, we're not talking military bases. We're talking deep at the bottom of hollers.
I was kind of lucky. I'm in the flatlands. Nothing weird, just boring.
He's a swamper.
Well,
Yeah,
sometimes
I'm
boring
in the
is
swamplands now, I guess.
Well, you have those corn monsters, don't you?
Nah, I don't know anything about any corn monsters.
You know what they mostly grow up there these days is soybean.
Yeah, not even tobacco anymore. No, it's just
Yeah,
soy.
just a shit ton of soybean everywhere.
Yep.
And in Georgia, it's cotton fields as far as the eye can see. But when I was in the Army, we had our own
Is that
center.
edamame beans? Is that the same
Hey,
thing?
Cody,
Yeah.
Oh, see, I like them. I like to eat those.
I don't know.
Okay,
It's weird because for the longest time you'd see a bunch of tobacco everywhere. Now it's not that, and it was strange whenever I just realized that too. It's like I'm just like, wait a minute, those don't look right. What are those?
Well, it's because not only do they sell the soybeans for human consumption, but apparently they're very valuable for like animal food and all kinds
Yeah, but I mean, again, it's just weird because I'm so used to seeing tobacco everywhere. And it's just like,
big
that's not
leafy
right.
things sticking out of the ground. That's tobacco. You cut it off and tie it up and hang it in the barn and let it freaking dry.
Yep.
And it sucks because it makes your skin feel like insulation, like it's got the hairs on it. Ugh. Hanging tobacco is horrible, but
Yeah, I never did that. My dad did, I think, a little bit, but not me.
they call it edamame or whatever.
Like that, to protect themselves from insects. Isn't like that a natural thing that tobacco plants have on
I
their
think the
leaves?
fact that they're poisonous as shit would be enough.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying. I thought that was like a natural defense. Some plants have all kinds of natural defenses
Right.
that they do, depending on where they're.
I don't know if I should tell you guys this, but if you take a pack of cigarettes and add a little water and you boil it and just boil it and boil it and boil it down long enough, you'll get a black tar that will absolutely just immediately kill somebody. It's a neurotoxin.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, they use it in Africa to hunt monkeys.
Wow.
That's what
What do
did
they
for
hunt the
Europe.
monkeys for? Did they eat them?
They eat them.
Well, how can they eat them if they're shooting them up with poison? I know they use the poison dart frog too for that.
That's in South America, and it's like pokeweed. I guess if you cook it a certain way, you're fine.
Yeah.
If you eat it
Monkeys deserve to be hunted just for being monkeys. They're hideous little animals. They're awful.
People
They
love them
are.
as pets, the little ones. You know,
My
they're-
aunt had a monkey, and she left it out in the yard, and it had a stroke from heat.
Aw,
And I
sad.
told her she should never own any animal. She also, when she had like millions of dollars, bought
Orangutan,
no, from South America,
a sloth.
and immediately let it freeze to death because they can't exist at under 85 degrees or something.
It's
And
terrible.
in Florida during the winter, it gets colder than that. So, yeah, everybody's like, you need to not own pets. You keep spending all this money on these weird animals and they die or they're permanently disabled.
My mother always wanted a skunk, a pet skunk, and she could
Skunks
never,
are awesome.
Why?
could never get one.
Skunks are better than cats. The only problem with skunks is if you let them wander, they have no sense of direction. They'll get lost and you'll never see them again. They don't know how to find their way home.
I got her a little tiny chihuahua, and she had a car seat for it, and she just babied that thing. She was like
Oh,
4 pounds. She
I'm
was
just
really
glad my
little.
mom just stopped getting all these animals too. Oh, there's that
Little.
time she's like wanting like miniature ponies, and I'm like, no, please, no, it's
Oh,
not a good
sounds
idea.
Yeah, all I have are chickens. I just have
I'd much rather have had chickens. At least then we'd have eggs.
There's my boy,
There's
Bear.
somebody's puppy.
Bear.
We got a dog too,
Yeah,
but
what? Misha, divide. Divide.
Yeah, I live in a petting
bear.
zoo.
It's like what?
You? What kind of pets do you
Other
have?
bear.
We have 9 cats, 2 dogs, 2 ferrets, a
ignoring me
turtle,
because
and a
he's
whole
trying
bunch
to
of chickens and turkeys.
The game.
Oh.
And there's talk of bringing a goat in, which I really hope doesn't happen.
And a
You know what?
partridge in a pear tree.
Hey, but at least you have a nice yard to be able to have all that.
Yeah,
We
got-
know what?
got a
We no
good
longer
sized
have a
yard.
pheasant. Sadly, something happened to the pheasant.
Yeah, I'd say a weasel.
We maybe.
Yeah, I shot my pistol off the other night in the back of my coop, and my hearing still isn't completely all the way back on my right ear, like a
What kind of
dumbass.
pistol?
Why
shot
are
it.
you shooting in a car?
It wasn't in the car; it was in my coop.
Oh, a chicken dog.
I had a huge raccoon. I heard my chickens. I was 10:30 at night, and I was in bed, and I heard a whole bunch of blah, 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 squabbling going on. So I jumped out of bed and grabbed the big flashlight off my refrigerator. And it was pouring down rain. I had a t-shirt, no shoes or pants on. We're running out there, and I see inside the run, and they're all running around and squawking. And so I run around the back and open the door, and there's this huge raccoon, as big. It looked like it was as big as a Cocker Spaniel, and it had my one little chicken, and it was eating her head off. So I went, oh my God. And I got my rake. There was a rake there, and I started trying to hit it, and it ran up into the side of between the 4 nesting boxes on the one side. So I crammed that up in there like that. And then I took one of the poles I'd cut bamboo, and I crammed it in the top part so it couldn't get out. I wedged it in there, and then I got a feeder dish and crammed it in the top. I mean, I saw its hands like trying to get out, and I started yelling for my daughter, but I guess she didn't hear me. So I ended up running back to the house and getting my 9mm out of the side of the bedstand and ran back out there with no clothes on. Basically, it was soaked, and then I just ran over there and I saw his little paws trying to get out, so I just stuck my pistol right in that slot. It was like 4 inches wide and about 6 inches long, and I stuck it right in the middle of the 2 paws, and I shot it, and then ring. Oh man, I totally forgot about my ears. But so then I had to sit and wait because it was stuck in that crack, and I couldn't leave because I didn't want to hurt my chickens. So
It's so good, right?
it was horrible. The whole thing was horrible. But I finally got him out, and he hobbled off. So I don't know if he died in the woods or whatever, but I was afraid to shoot it when it came out of the coop because there was a house over there.
When you can actually see them.
Do what?
That's when you're supposed to shoot things.
I didn't want to shoot the direction because it was straight out, and it was raining, and it was bamboo, and there's a house catty cornered in that direction. He had like a couple dogs chained up. I wasn't gonna risk it. So I
Up
figured
next on Ozark
when
After
it's nice
Dark,
out again,
he's naked in the water shooting at raccoons. Don't touch that dial.
You said a lot of things there, and
I
I'm
just
letting
hope I
them
get
all
my
slide.
hearing back all the way.
I'm letting them all slide.
Listen, James, she lives in the Ozark, okay?
She's innocent. I know.
I got
When I heard
coyotes. I
stories
got a
about
video of
being
a black
stuck in
bear
the
on my front porch.
Oh, black bears are
on my
pussies.
YouTube channel. I said
Yell
Black
real
Bear
loud, the
visits
black bear
Janet's
runs away.
planet.
Yeah, black bears aren't that dangerous.
No.
Still-
Just
Cats
get
chase
big,
black
yell
bears
at it.
off of
You'll be
properties.
all right.
He was pretty big.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Cats will chase it. Black bears are the biggest fucking pussies.
They are.
I didn't have a
But
cat.
here's okay. Look, here's how it works. This is the way I grew up
Just
learning.
make some noise,
Black,
make yourself look
Fight
big.
back. If
Yep.
it's brown, lay down. If it's white, good night, because you're done. You know, like, there's no surviving that.
He obviously
Polar
grew up
bears
in
are
a
ginormous.
secular home because how I
Only
was
seen
taught
one.
was if it's black, fight back. If it's brown, lay down. And if it's white, go to the light.
Oh, interesting.
You
But
will go to
basically
the
the
light.
same thing.
Yeah,
Because
pretty
if
big.
you
Yeah,
run
go to the
into a
light.
polar bear,
You're fucked.
yeah.
They will kill
Because
you
for
in
a
one
polar
shot.
bear, it's on just on sight.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of questioning there. They're not really thinking about like
But moose can kill you too.
No, they
Yeah,
wait.
but the difference is you really gotta piss a moose off to make it want to fuck with you.
Mhm.
Polar bears, just as a matter of purpose, running across, you go, yeah, fuck this guy. You know?
well,
It's
the
like,
thing
oh,
is,
hey,
these
food.
are their natural food.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Like there are very few animals on the planet that view
That
us
actually
as
eat
something
humans.
good to eat, and a
Yeah.
polar bear is one of them.
Yep.
Yep. Up north, they have a rule in
Sharks.
a lot of the villages up north in
Not
Canada where
even
they have polar
sharks.
bears, where your fucking cars, you're not allowed to lock your car in town because in case someone's walking and a polar bear walks along, they can jump into whatever car.
Or a moose. That's how it is in Eagle River, Alaska.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
watched
If you're
some
walking down the
documentary.
sidewalk and you see a mama moose or a polar bear jump in a car. Because the mama moose with their little baby will stomp you to death, and they weigh tons.
Mhm.
They're like 10 feet tall.
Yeah, I've seen those a couple of those things on like YouTube, you know, or shorts, and they're showing dumbasses seeing baby bears and walking up to them like, what is wrong
Nope.
with people?
Don't do that.
Don't they have no common
So,
sense?
we used to call it natural selection.
Now it's the Darwin Award.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now it's a protected species, you know, tourist.
My favorite is people go to Yellowstone and they see the bison and they want to run up and
Oh my
you
god!
see a turkey just flying through the air.
Yeah. With a car, when they were like running right up in the car, they're just like bam, bam. And the person in the car like, what the fuck? It's like this thing weighs
Oh,
5
yeah.
tons. What's wrong with you? You know?
All of the most dangerous animals on the planet are herbivores that are blind. If it's a grass-eating thing and it can't see, it chooses violence always.
Hippos
Because
are
I
one of
mean,
the most
it's got
dangerous
this
animals
mentality
ever.
that it's better to shoot first and ask questions later.
But sharks do kill people.
Very,
but
very
They will
rarely.
kill the
yeah,
person,
but they
won't
bite
hunt them.
you and you bleed to death before you can get to shore.
Yeah,
Because
big
when they
white shark
bite
will
you,
take
they
your
know
leg right
that the content of your body is not enough fat for it to be worth their effort to eat you, but you're gonna die before you make
Right.
it shore.
That happens a lot. They'll take somebody's leg off and the
And then the other fish come and they all tear you to shreds.
Yeah,
Right.
the thing is, if you've ever like seen aerial photos of a beach where people are swimming, there's sharks all over.
They
the
I
tell
beach.
know.
They're
Yeah, and
everywhere.
the
They're
dumb
everywhere.
guy
They're right
down
by
a little
you.
bit farther is fishing with live bait. Yeah, just lining people up for smorgasbord.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you've ever been in the swimming in the ocean, you've had a shark within 10
Yeah.
feet of you.
I've snorkeled in the ocean, and I don't do it very much anymore.
We have the most shark attacks in our hemisphere here in Florida, but they're all the little like sand sharks or nurse sharks, and almost every time it's because somebody steps on it.
Yeah,
So
they
it's
get
a
bit.
defensive bite. Rarely, like every now and then you might have a big bull shark take a chunk out of somebody, but they don't. The thing with sharks is they don't actively hunt humans. But a polar bear and a Nile crocodile will both
Yeah.
actively hunt humans.
Yeah, I lived in New Orleans. A lot
whatever.
of people they get bit because see, a crocodile or an alligator, when they grab a hold of you, they take you down in the water and they stick you under a log or whatever, and then they start twisting to tear off a chunk, and that's how you die.
They
and
grab
then
you, they death spiral you, you drown, they wedge you under there and let you marinate for a week or two, and then they come back and
not always, because there's other gators. And they'll all take turns, and they don't care if you've been marinated or not. They just start tearing you up.
I thought I'd want to go back to the masturbation conversation.
No, Bear, you knew you wanted to go back to that.
Sorry.
Not because of us, but because of our guest. I'd hate to think you want to talk about masturbation with me, because I'd say that's sinful, Bear. You shouldn't do it. But I'd drop it at that, because
we should all try not to do things that we shouldn't.
Yeah,
I'm not casting any judgment on anybody. I know I'm the worst person.
Don't be weak.
That's right. Like somebody said, no shave November, and I was just like, I got you. Never shaved again.
Oh well, I shave every day. My legs. There you go. Is that better?
Nobody's saying anything, but I'm going to have to shut this stream down because my players are here.
Oh,
good timing.
The government was about to shut the stream down
Well,
anyway.
no, I've seen videos.
Eastern
There's
Orthodox
videos
Church
on
is what to
YouTube
shut
of them
this stream
piercing
down.
their genitals and stuff. So they're
Look,
not that
Janet is not responsible for what somebody may or may not think in their head based on something she said. She didn't specifically say anything bad. She just said she shaved. For all we know, she could have meant her back.
I believe that the term called shaving.
Yeah, I can do a raffle and say, who wants to come shave my back?
I'm just saying, that's their fault. If you tuck it to somewhere other than where she said, that's your fault. It's not her fault. But anyway, Janet, you're always
guys
on. Just
FYI.
FYI.
And you have a great game, I hope.
Of course I will. I'm the greatest dungeon master ever. But outside of that, you're always.
I wish I joined this one for now.
So if you ever see me on, I know you pop in and say hey. If you ever just want to come on and talk gaming or literally anything else, within
I'll try to be
reason,
nicer next time.
I am a married man.
I'm not drinking,
and I don't need to have a heart attack. Hearing you on over here, like, oh my God, what's my, But anyway. I'll talk to you guys later.
I'll see you.
Later, James.
Later,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye.